Well, yeah, I mean, I just think that, yes, there were a lot of good things about it, but I thought it had so many problems. I honestly did. I thought that, the fact that I think nobody... And then obviously the reason for the actual ghost face. That's just my opinion on, I know it's out already and it's done really well, but that's just my opinion anyway. Should we start the pod?
None of that went out right. And welcome to We're Gonna Need a Bigger Pod. We are on episode 5 already. That's amazing. We're still doing it. Episode 5. Thank you so much. I'm John Brown.
I'm Paul Marsh.
And this is your weekly dose of all things film from two people that talk far too much about film. So much so that we decided to make a podcast about it just so our partners could say, can you go and talk about that somewhere else, please? And here we are. And that's what we do.
And then we force them to listen to it actually on the podcast, which is brilliant.
And then they listen to it and say, you sound really good on the podcast. But they won't have a conversation with us about it over dinner. But there we are. We're going to need a bigger pod. Welcome. Episode 5. We're here. You're here. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for your support, especially with our Tip Top 5. But we'll get to that a little bit later down the line. What's coming up, Paul Marsh?
So, of course, we are going to be talking about this week's big news stories and looking at the trailers that have come out this week. Mm-hmm. So many films have come out this week as well. So many.
Five or six
big ones, and then a whole bunch of smaller ones as well. So that's all looking very good. And we have got not one, but two.
Well, 3 technically.
3? Yeah, I suppose it is.
3.
I suppose technically we do have 3 interviews this week, yeah.
We do. Name your big guests. Name them.
So I spoke to Jack Rowan and Tahirah Sharif, who are in A Town Called Malice, which is on Sky and Now TV, and is absolutely brilliant.
It's Nick Love's thing, isn't it? I like Nick Love.
Very, very good.
And I'm talking to Oliver Hermanus, the director of the most amazing film Living, which is out on Blu-ray and DVD this week. But we'll get to that shortly. Plus, we've got a Tip Top 5 with Tom Cruise. And yes, all of you are involved with this Tip Top 5 too.
Oh, we have so many.
We have so many.
So many people got involved, and we want to thank every single person who did get involved because it was brilliant.
Thank you so much. We will read out the Hall of Fame of the Tom Cruise Tip Top 5 later on in the show. In the meanwhile, if you want to find out more about us... that was your cue.
Oh, right, okay. I thought you were going into it. I just looked in shock and horror.
Hey, you look at me like that most days, to be honest. It's the beard, isn't it?
If you want to find out a little bit more about me over the socials, of course, I am at Paul Swampy Marsh.
Go and see. He rants and raves about stuff way more than I do, which is an amazing thing when you think about it. But yeah, no, he has some very funny, very interesting things too. And if you like sport, he's pretty good at that as well. At Paul Swampy Marsh on all socials. I am at John Brown TV, JON John Brown TV, if you want to follow us, and at Need a Bigger Pod on all socials for the podcast. And by all means, as always, give us your views, your thoughts, your feedback. We will read them out, so be careful what you say. On to the news.
Right, so obviously it was the Oscars last week. Now, obviously it was just under a week ago, so we don't really need to heavily get involved in all of the discussion. However, was there anything that really shocked you, or, were you kind of... I looked at all of the winners and thought... Yeah, I'll go with that. There was nothing. Yeah. There was no film or no actor that won, or any part of any film that won. And I thought, oh, that wasn't deserved. I can't believe that's won.
No, I'm pretty happy with all of that, to be honest. I mean, I know Top Gun Maverick was nominated for Best Picture, but of course I was rooting for it to win. Of course I was. But in reality, actually, when I look at it from, and we always talk about this, not just on the pod, but off the pod. Pop. I'm popping now. He's got his pop shield.
I've got my pop shield. So
He's got his pop shield. And me, the naysayer of the popping, is now the one doing the popping. Go figure. How's that for some karma? But anyway, we always talk about how we like to look at situations from other people's point of view, and that's how we resolve most things. And looking at it from the Academy's point of view, it makes every piece of sense that they went with Everything Everywhere All at Once, because although Everything Everywhere, and again, this Everything Everywhere and Top Gun Maverick were the two movies that would always appear in number 1 and number 2 of people's charts, not necessarily in different orders. Some people would have Everything Everywhere at number 1, some people would have Top Gun Maverick at number 1 and Everything at number 2. So we always knew there was kind of a battle between those two movies for supremacy, really. But from the Oscars, the Academy's point of view, it makes every sense that they went with that, because Top Gun Maverick is by far and away my favourite movie of last year, no doubt, hands down. Everything Everywhere is a close one because it's just brilliant. However, from the Academy's point of view, when you lay those two up side by side, Everything Everywhere is the most original of the two of them.
Yeah.
And for that reason alone, yes, I understand. Even though Top Gun Maverick did save cinema,
yes,
Steven Spielberg
agree.
himself said that.
Yep.
Steven Spielberg said that, so it must be true. I agree with their decision, because Everything Everywhere brought some new things to the table, and it changed the game. You know, Top Gun may have saved cinema, and for me was the best film of last year, but Everything Everywhere was the film that changed the game.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, Everything Everywhere was my number 1 of the year. Like you say, it was so
close.
Oh, it was just such an amazing film. Top Gun took every single box and put a tick in it, as what Top Gun did. It wasn't anything mind blowing. It didn't, like you say, it didn't recreate cinema. But what it did is it took every single box and it put a big fat tick in it.
Yeah, it did. And like I said, with Everything Everywhere, it may have been the smaller movie retrospective. You know, in terms of like coming at it from a different direction, it may have been the smaller movie. Top Gun Maverick was a massive behemoth. It was a juggernaut. And as we say, it literally saved cinema. It brought cinema back from the depths of COVID. And so it deserves everything it gets just for that alone. Aside from the fact that it's a really great, entertaining ride, and it's done in the most, and shot and produced in the most amazing way. And every facet of it, including the music, as we've talked about so many times on other shows, is just chef's kiss. But Everything Everywhere, although the slightly smaller movie in comparison, was, I think, the one that had just that little bit more originality, which, as I say, makes total sense as to why the Academy went there in the end.
So I think that Top Gun is going to be that film that is going to be shown on TVs and streaming channels, etc., for the next 30 years.
Forever.
Everything Everywhere All at Once will be in all of the film critics' top 50 films ever made for however many years. It's one of those ones. They're both fantastic films. I also think that I was really happy with all of the choices of Brendan Fraser winning Best Actor.
Yep. Goat of the Week. Previous Goat of the Weeker.
An amazing performance, truly amazing. And then obviously the rest of the actors all winning from Everything Everywhere All at Once. I was really happy with that as well. The other last question that I did want to ask you about the Oscars before we move on is, do you think that, I mean, was it March 12th, something like that? What, we 15th today, so it was the 12th, wasn't it? March 12th. So for 2022 films, that's 3.5 months.
Always in March.
But yeah, okay. But my
Been
question,
March since
I get
that. I can remember.
That's not my question. My question is, does it feel like it's gone on too long?
No.
When you have some of the other ones that come out, the Globes are in January. When you have some of those other ones that literally tick, as we tick into 2023, we start discussing the films of 22. I just felt, because obviously the Oscars is always the last one because it's the biggest.
Yeah.
It got to that point where I was like, are we still talking about 2022?
Since, I mean, I started this game in 95, and I've always been under no illusion that the film calendar runs March to February. And it always has done ever since I was a boy. Like, that's not changed. In terms of the film calendar runs March to Feb, and then it kicks back up again in March, because then from March to Feb we're looking at what's next year's Oscars. You're right, Oscars is the big one. It's the bit. We can't have Oscars any earlier than that, because the Globes are in January, because the BAFTAs are in February. That's why the Oscars are in March. Not necessarily why. I mean, the Oscars is the granddaddy of them all, so I guess that's always been there. But you couldn't move that back any earlier now, because BAFTAs is in February.
Because there are too many others now.
And you're falling all over each other. Like, I think it's nicely spaced out as it is. And not saying it doesn't have to change. You make a very interesting point about how, you know, we're already one quarter into this year, but we're still talking about last year's movies. But I don't want to be the guy that bangs the drum of, but it's always been that way. But in reality, it quite literally has always been that way since, like, long before I started really getting into Oscars, maybe when I was 13 or 14, so that was a couple of centuries ago. No, it was like 92, 93, I guess, maybe around the time of Jurassic Park. So what was that, 93? So yeah, I've loved it ever since then, and it's always been in March, and I like that. And oftentimes you'll find one of my favourite things about that was when you have a movie win Best Picture on the Sunday night, and on the Monday it came out on video.
Right. Okay.
It's all guesswork, and they just kind of like. I remember Braveheart happened that year, and it was kind of like, well, nobody actually knew it was going to sweep everything, but it's just Fox had scheduled it to be out on video the Monday after the Oscars. Yeah, maybe just in case. It turns out it swept everything. So, of course, what happens is you go in the video store on the Monday, you can't get a copy of Braveheart because that thing just like went on the night before. But it's always been in March.
Is it different now because of streaming?
No, not really.
That's a conversation.
That's going on the list.
That's a conversation for another pod.
Are you keeping track of this? Please tell me you're keeping track of this.
We've got 22 different podcasts coming out this year.
We already have, without the one about a whole other podcast. So, yeah, I think like March has always been Oscar night. I think that's been entrenched in tradition for I don't know how long, but as long as I remember, it's always one night in March, a Sunday night in March. I know it's changed sometimes, I think, because of COVID, it changed a little bit. I think one time it was in April, another time it was in February. But generally, it's around the top of the spring. And then what happens is, I think it's perfectly timed, because that's then spring. Right afterwards, you get spring. And that kind of feels like your New Year's properly kicked in when spring happens, right? So, because we're still at the back end of winter, aren't we? It's still cold outside. So, that the whole kind of... We have that, and then the film calendar just kicks back over, starts over in March. As of literally this week, the film calendar now kicks over. So everything from now will be in consideration for next year. Yeah, it's weird. Like, it would have been better if it's in December, and rather than January, December. But Christmas is hectic. There's a lot of stuff going on the holidays. Obviously, in America, they have Thanksgiving as well. You know, so it makes sense to me. It's orderly, I think, that it's the last one to come out, and it's in March, which then, like I said, reboots the film year for another whatever. So this is when we're going to start seeing things. I mean, we'll have a little bit of a break, I guess, but there'll be things popping up throughout the year that will be considered Oscar worthy, and then of course when we get to the winter time, that's when we start getting all the kind of awards heavy stuff. Yeah. So it's nice, because the other thing that then March then holds, I mean, I like all films, as you know, but some people are more inclined to a blockbuster than they are an awards piece. So for the popcorn cinema fan, this is the best time of year, because now we've got past the Oscars, this is when all the fun stuff comes out, because it's all been held back for post-awards season.
Now, speaking of something else that is going to be Oscar-worthy, we have had a bit of news come out in the last couple of days. Tarantino's last, or potential last film has a title. It is going to be called The Movie Critic. He has finished the script. It's going to be put into production later this year, apparently. And Tarantino has said for a long time that this number 10 is going to be his last film. Now, the pressure must be unreal, because as we look through Tarantino's career, as his films have gone on, obviously the earlier ones, he's always done his own thing, but they were maybe a little bit more for the general public. Now, I think as we've gone on, you look at his last few films of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and Hateful Eight, they're really not for the general public. They are for the cinema fan.
I think they all are. And don't forget, he's had his moments where there are things that he's worked on that are outside of his 9, as it stands now.
Yeah.
So, like Dusk Till Dawn, True Romance, that were things he either wrote or was in or partnered with Rodriguez on, or, you know, in the case of Dusk Till Dawn, True Romance, he wrote. Obviously, that was directed by Tony Scott. But generally, he's always stuck to his guns. I don't think he's ever... I think he makes films that he wants to see. I think he makes films that he knows an audience will want to see, and he has an audience, a very large audience for that. I don't think he's ever bowed to pressure. I don't think he feels any immense pressure at all. Like, this film has come when he's decided that it's ready. He's now decided that script, that final treatment is ready. I don't think he's felt under any pressure to release this anytime soon. I think it was always going to be about when he felt it was time. Now he feels it's time. And I mean, in terms of your question about pressure, I don't think he feels any pressure at all. I think he feels like now's the time. Now he wants to do that. I know he always wanted to do 10 and that was it, 10 and done. And
he has said that he's released books. He's even looked into TV series a bit.
Yeah, and I think that's where he'll go. I think he'll move in the direction of trying his hand at television.
And also podcasts. He's got his own podcast now.
He's got so much going on. I honestly think he will just continue to be him in other forms, but I don't think this is the end of him. I just think this is the last film that he said he would make, and again, it's stuck to his guns. He said he was making 10. He hasn't bowed to any pressure or any financial pressure or anything from anywhere else. He's just gone, I'm going to make 10 movies, and when they're ready, they're ready, and here are our 10 movies. When they're ready, they're ready. I think it'll be great. Everything else he does is great. There's nothing in his catalogue I don't like. I think everything he's done is absolutely spot on, and as I understand it, this is about his favourite film critic, which isn't either of us, just to be clear.
Damn it. So sources describe the story as being set in the late 1970s Los Angeles with a female lead at its centre. Now, there is no confirmation of this whatsoever. It is said that the story focuses on Pauline Kael, one of the most influential movie critics of all time.
His favourite.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and if you look at the timing, like late 70s, and you think about how old he is, that totally tracks.
So going back to the Oscars, now, am I right in thinking he's never won Best Director? Am I right in thinking that? He's right. I think his films and actors, etc., have all won various awards for his films. I could be completely wrong, but I don't believe he's ever won Best Director.
You got the screens, man. You got the screens.
It up very quickly?
Go into any other search provider that is available, and we won't say because they don't until they pay us. Yeah, do that. I know he's won a lot of festival like Cannes and Palme d'Ors and things like that. I know he's got a pretty huge trophy cabinet in terms of world film.
Never taken home Best Director or Best Picture despite being nominated.
Could this be
He has
the one?
won 2 Best Original Screenplay Academy Awards for Pulp Fiction and Django Unchained. But my point being is we know that in the Oscars they do like to give lifetime awards, don't they? Scorsese winning for The Departed, which I love The Departed, but a lot of people said it was a lifetime award. So does Tarantino get the award regardless of the film? Don't get me wrong, if it's a big fat turd, I'm sure he won't, but the chances of it being a big fat turd are like 0.0001. Yeah,
I mean, when did Reservoir was the first?
92.
92. So you're looking at 30 years. He's made 10 movies in 30 years, right? 31 years, including this year. Bearing in mind, if he puts that movie into production this year, will it be out this year? Will it be out next year?
No, I would dare say you're looking at 2024 somewhere.
So just over 30 years, he's made 10 films. And again, hasn't bowed to any pressure from anybody else. He's an artist in the literal sense. Does he care? I think he's a storyteller. Is it going to
ruin his life if he never wins Best Director? Probably not. However, I think for other people more than anything, it would be that nice cherry on the cake, because there's absolutely no doubt in my mind that he is one of the best directors that has ever lived.
I think he loves movies. I think he loves being a storyteller. I think he loves telling us stories, particularly stories that he's got that thing down where he writes, he wants to, as a visual storyteller, he wants to tell stories that we will love as the audience, but stories he wants to watch too, movies he wants to see. He's got that balance down, and he's had that right for years, and that's part of his magic. I mean, is he an awards guy? I don't know. I haven't never met him. I've never interviewed him. I've never had the privilege, I've seen enough interviews with him, but I don't know if I've seen enough interviews with him to make the judgment call as to whether or not he cares about that. But I think he's a guy he strikes me. Okay, so my personal opinion is he strikes me as the sort of guy that has made a movie that he's very proud of, and if he gets some stuff out of that, great. If not, no worries. The main thing is that the story lands with the audience, and then of course the money's good and the awards are good and everything else is good, but as long as he makes the movie he wants to make and it's received well, I think those two things are kind of the important things for him. I don't think he's like, oh, nothing won an Oscar, I'm going to be upset about that. I don't think he can.
No.
He doesn't strike me as a guy. He just strikes me as a guy that like us, he loves films, man. And that's one of the things that I love about him is that, yes, he's a celebrity. Yes, he's a brilliant director. Yes, he's a masterful storyteller. But at his core, he loves movies.
Yeah.
He's the biggest film fan as we are. You know, he probably more than we are. And that's all that really matters. I think he just turned his passion into a lifetime achievement. I think that's his Lifetime Achievement Award in and of itself, that he got to live his wildest dreams. I think that's, for him, anything above that is probably a bonus, and that's how he views it. So when are we expecting that to come? Does it say? Is there any kind of idea?
No, nothing at all. All it says is it's planned to go into production towards the end of the year.
And again, it will be ready when it's ready. I don't know who's picking that up, because obviously his movies come out via different distributors.
Well, again, so it said that obviously Sony released Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, so that is kind of the obvious choice. But no, at the moment, there is nothing set whatsoever. Nothing
set. Yeah, well, again, it'll be down to and quite rightly so, it'll be down to the highest bidder, because, you know, we love what we do, but money's nice too. So, yeah, good luck to him. I'm really looking forward to it. And I think he's aware that this is his grand finale. I think he's going to prepare something special for us. And I think it's going to be great.
So, looking at another film in a long franchise.
Oh, this is fresh, isn't it?
This is very, very fresh. We are talking about the new Pirates of the Caribbean film. Now, the question is, will it feature Mr. Johnny Depp? Now, for a long time, we have thought the answer to that question is quite simply no, it's not going to.
Well, there are, so I've lost count. Where would this be? What, 6?
I thought 5, but if you said 6, I wouldn't argue.
No, this would be 6.
This would be 6.
There's 3 good ones.
I don't know. I don't know. So the reason why this has reared its head again is because producer Jerry Bruckheimer had a Q&A session with Entertainment Weekly at the Oscars, and he said, we are all working on the next Pirates film. We'll see how it comes out. We're very excited. I think we're going to have a great screenplay. We're getting close. When he was pressed further for any news regarding a potential return for Depp, he said, we'll see. I would love it. I would love to have him in the movie, and that's all I can tell you.
Will he say yes, though?
He's not going to say yes, is he? He's absolutely... Oh, what, will Johnny Depp say yes?
Will Johnny Depp say yes? That's the big question. And, all things considered, it would be nice to see him as Jack Sparrow again. I know I'm not the biggest fan of the last 2, but I always love seeing him as Jack Sparrow. I think it's one of his most prolific signature roles.
Does he need to?
But he has every right to say no.
Does he need to? And will he want to?
He's well within his rights to if he wanted to. I'm just saying. And would anyone blame him if he said, no, you're all right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, without getting into all of those issues,
we're not
going to touch one little bit.
That's been done to absolute death, and everyone's got their take on it and their viewpoint on it. And if you've got a viewpoint on it and you want to share it, by all means do, at Need a Bigger Pod. But we're not going to do that here. All we're going to say is they'd like him involved. It would be nice if he was involved. But I wouldn't blame him if he decided he didn't want to be. That's where I'm leaving that.
If I was Johnny Depp, I would not touch it with a barge pole unless it was the best script out of all of them so far.
And that's entirely possible, because we have long-running franchises that have some episodes are better than others. I'm looking at you, Scream, and Fast.
Yeah.
So... I mean, I like all of those films for varying different reasons, but there are some that are better than others.
Yeah.
So 6, I mean, Bruckheimer's on a roll right now, man. Like he's back on his game. Top Gun Maverick.
Yeah.
Off the back of that.
Yeah.
Man, like
that's a lot to live up to.
If you can make the Top Gun Maverick of Pirates of the Caribbean movies, I'm all ears.
Oh, yeah.
Fully behind it.
Oh, yeah.
But, I mean,
yeah.
I'm the biggest...
That's a tall order. Don't forget, Top Gun didn't have 2 or 3 rather stinky films in between. Top Gun just had the original, which, you know, we love for the nostalgia and everything else. And then it came out with this superpower, which is Maverick. So it didn't have those 2 or 3 rather disputable ones in between, like the Pirates does.
There are 3 amazing pirate films.
Yeah.
That 3-story arc in the first 3 is just out of this world. And I'm not the biggest fan of 4 and 5. Musically, as you will know from my other shows, my composer shows, all 5 pirate soundtracks, I can never choose between. I know which one's my favourite, but what I'm saying is, musically speaking, like, I love all 5 albums. Like, they've all got really great scores, and that is, again, Klaus Badelt, Hans Zimmer, it's their genius. Movie wise, yeah, not so much, but there are 3 solid films, I think. And again, with Jerry Bruckheimer, like I said, he's on fire right now. He's turning out a lot of good stuff. I'm a big fan. Do you know what? I've always loved Jerry Bruckheimer, and especially the Simpson and Bruckheimer days. Like, I grew up on those movies, man. So I'm into it, and I'm always interested when he's got something new to say. I think if he's very excited as he is about this right now, then I think he's onto something. And he was this excited about Top Gun Maverick, and we all know how that turned out. Mm-hmm. So I think, it could work out. If it's done right, I think it could be amazing.
Watch this space. So, looking at talking of new films that are potentially coming out, of course, let's look at some trailers that are coming out.
You've been watching these.
I have.
Talk to me.
Let's talk again very briefly about Super Mario, because the final trailer has dropped before its very, very soon release. All in, sold, done.
My army! Koopas! Goombas! Whatever those things are! Aww. We will destroy the Mushroom Kingdom!
Bowser is coming.
I'm not afraid. I'll do anything for my brother.
We're going to save him.
Yes! Fire!
You asked for it! This is fun!
Here we go!
Yeah, I don't think there's much else to say about it, other than
my boy is just exploding with excitement.
Nintendo have partnered with the people that make Minions and Despicable Me, and in that they have, on the outset at least, appeared to have given us a film that is very loyal and very faithful to the game lore of Mario Brothers. I'm seeing Donkey Kong referencing in that trailer. I'm seeing Super Mario Galaxy, Super Mario World, even Mario Kart referencing in that trailer. I think this is a animated movie that takes Mario back to Mario's Nintendo roots, and a great voice cast. We've got like everyone. Chris Pratt's in there, Charlie Day's in there as Mario and Luigi, Jack Black as Bowser,
Seth Rogen.
I mean, the list goes on and on and on. Like, that cast is just phenomenal. I think they've got this made. I think previous Mario movies, especially that particular one we won't talk about, but this, I think they're back with a vengeance on this one. I think this is going to land. I really do.
Really,
but that's coming April 7th. So just in time for Easter. So yeah, up for that. What's next?
On a Wing and a Prayer, which I believe is an Amazon Prime film.
I think so.
I think it is an
it's
Amazon
Dennis
Prime.
Quaid, isn't it?
Yes, Dennis Quaid, Heather Graham, Jesse Metcalfe. I'm not spoiling anything by saying this. So basically, it is a true story, which I always like those. They're a small family. I dare say if they're taking a little private plane, they're probably quite a rich family, I would hazard a guess. And they're taking one of those small little VW Beetles with wings. And it's one of those, and they're going off. The family is flying from one location to another. And then, unfortunately, whilst in the air, the pilot has a heart attack and dies.
Plot twist.
So then, obviously, they either choose to try and land this plane, or they are just going to crash and die. So, yeah, it's about how, and like I say, it's a true story. So it's just about how the thing, everything that they go through, and I believe it's in the trailer as well, that they fly through a storm, which, for a trained pilot is hard enough, but to a completely untrained pilot.
With all good storytelling, put our heroes up in a tree and throw rocks at them. In this case, like, literally.
And what I said when I saw it, and I said to you, basically, this looks to me like The Blind Side, but in a plane.
That's interesting. Wasn't The Blind Side the sports movie?
Yeah, The Blind Side was Sandra Bullock, the true story about the American footballer, which won many awards, and I absolutely love. And this looks like that.
Miami Center. Is anyone there?
Say your tail number and intention.
Doug, what's going on?
I've got an emergency up here. My wife and daughters are on this plane.
I need you to stop a plane crash. You're the only person I know who can save them.
Has he flown a King Air?
Never.
You've got a very tight window. How long's he been in the air?
Start easing off of those controls. Can you do that?
We got a real good co-pilot up here.
Landing gear down.
I got it. I'm looking for the emergency procedures.
No doubt we're going to need it.
Putting someone in an impossible situation.
Which is, in my eyes, not a bad thing because, like I say, The Blind Side is great. So, yeah, I'm interested to see this. It looks good to me. And
is it coming to Amazon Prime?
I think so. I don't have a date.
I think so. Do you want me to give you a date?
Yes.
Why don't you ramble inanely for a moment while I do that?
Do you know what? Considering that I actually talk on the radio for a living...
I just asked you to fill and you've gone blank.
I'm actually not that great. When somebody says to me, talk, monkey, talk, and I kind of go...
I did not say that.
And I go,
I said, would you like me to look for a date? Not a literal date, you're married.
Yes. So I have a date. It has the 6th of April, but that says Russia. And
I have an actual date. Yes.
Yeah, I don't think that date's correct for us.
No, it is coming. It's coming on April 7th, so same day as Super Mario Brothers. It's going to Amazon Prime Video April 7th on a wing and a prayer. So there you go. Check that out. You can watch that on streaming. What is next?
So next up is No Hard Feelings with Jennifer Lawrence.
I saw you. So I was in a room with Paul. Oh God, I've set this up so wrong. I walked into a room with Paul where he was watching this trailer and he was laughing so much at this trailer. Give us the highlights.
Jennifer Lawrence looks absolutely stunning and amazing, and there's
so aside from your dribbling over Jennifer Lawrence, let's get to cut to it, man. Right. Come on, tell me what it's about.
So basically, she is a woman who is out on her luck and she needs money. And I'm dribbling over her, but literally that is the basis of the plot of this film. Is she is an incredibly hot woman who uses that hotness to kind of get her through life and opportunities that she needs. And she answers an advert from a mum and dad who are a little bit worried about their son maybe, and they do a little bit of helicopter parenting, and they want her to date her son.
Right.
And the son, even though Jennifer Lawrence is ridiculously hot, makes it quite difficult.
I'm an Uber driver and I don't have a car. I'm gonna lose my house.
Look at this.
Need a car, date our son this summer, and bring him out of his shell before college.
In exchange, we'll give you a Buick Regal.
Date is in quotes. It's gotta be a joke, right?
Maddie!
We've just been so worried about our son. We want you to get to know him. Don't just date him.
But also date him. Date him hard.
I'll date his brains out.
Right, I'm with you now. I appreciate you sidestepping around a lot of explanations of certain topics in order to dance your way through this.
I tried my best.
This is basically I'm guessing an American Pie style, tongue very firmly in its cheek.
Yeah.
Dirty comedy.
Yes, it is. Like I say, basically, so Jennifer Lawrence is being paid to accompany the boy by the mum and dad, and the boy does not want to be accompanied. However, I'm guessing, from the look of it, she doesn't get paid unless she accompanies him. So she tries everything she can do to get to where she needs to be to get paid.
So this is more, I'm going to guess this is... Are we leaning more into consultancy fee as opposed to prostitution fee? Where does this land on the scale of consultant, companion, escort...
I use the word accompany.
Sex worker. Where does she land on the scale from the trailer?
I use the word accompany and date is the words I use. You can choose to use whatever word.
Is she charged with taking his virginity? Is that essentially what we're talking about here?
Possibly.
Right, I'm with you now.
Right.
Okay. Yes. I mean, it looks funny. You had some reservations about the director, though, didn't you? You made some very interesting observations.
Yes.
Come on, don't be shy now.
No, well, I had to think about who it was. So the director is Gene Stupnitsky.
Yeah.
Who has also been involved with Year One, Bad Teacher, and Good Boys. Now,
one of those movies is great.
I didn't like it, personally. I didn't like it. So that's 3 films that he's been involved with, and I haven't liked any of them.
However, you did watch this trailer and laugh yourself to death. I thought I was going to have to get you a D for you were laughing.
The trailer is superb. My worry is the trailer is superb. And that's what we're going to get, all the best bits in the trailer. I hope not. I hope I'm completely wrong because it looks fantastic and I am on board. I just hope it's as good as the trailer looks.
That is coming to cinemas. That will be... It's called No Hard Feelings. Stars Jennifer Lawrence. It will be in cinemas June 23rd. What's next?
Right, so up next we have got The Little Mermaid.
You broke the rules. You went to the above world.
A man was drowning. I had to save him.
This obsession with humans has to stop.
I just want to know more about them. Ariel, don't!
Poor child. I can help you. You can't live in that world unless you become a human yourself.
Is that even possible?
It's what I live for.
Yeah, we have.
The Little... And now, so you've set me a task for this, haven't you?
Have I set you a task? Oh, yeah, I did set you a task. Oh, yes. How well remembered.
I haven't seen the original Little Mermaid. By the way, I mentioned this task to my wife, and she had the biggest smile that I think she's had in probably 12 years of us being together.
You're welcome, Sam.
Yeah, exactly. So John has set me a task because I've never seen the original. My task has been set to maybe like a week before.
Yeah. What we're going to try and do, because again, I don't know how this is going to move and shake yet with Disney, but the plan is that we're going to sit you down in front of the 1989 original animation, so that you're up to speed on kind of the origins of where all this
which I
comes
have to say, my wife and kids absolutely love it.
Yeah, and I told you I was in my top 5 in 1989.
Yeah.
So yeah, great movie. Then what we'll do is we'll sit you down with the live action, and then we can do that thing we talked about where we talked about, and obviously we can already see from the trailer there are key differences between the live action and the animation, and I'm all right with that, to be honest, because I think if we just did a live action version, and it's the same with Dumbo, when we come all the way back around to Dumbo, Tim Burton took the ball and ran with it, right? So with Little Mermaid, what Rob Marshall's done here is, instead of just going, I could make a shot-for-shot remake of that animation, but what would the point of that be?
Yeah.
There are some... we can already see that there have been some changes to kind of how they're doing things. There's been some changes to... I mean, even music, like Alan Menken, the composer of the original, the lyrics for all the songs... I mean, some of the most memorable Disney songs ever are in Little Mermaid.
Yeah, I know the songs. Again, I've not seen the film, but I know the songs.
And they were lyrics by... Howard Ashman, sadly no longer with us, the brilliant late Howard Ashman. He is there's a wonderful documentary about him, by the way, and his work on Disney Plus. Go and check that out. So his original lyrics and Alan Menken's music. Alan Menken's back to compose this one, so we're going to get some more of that. But interestingly, I've already noticed there's a change in the music too, because there are some new songs coming, which have been written by Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Right.
So he's added his take on things, and we've got things like Javier Bardem is now Triton, we've got Melissa McCarthy as Ursula. I think that is bang on casting, by the way.
Do you know what?
I know it's been met with some real reception.
No,
but
I have to agree with you, and I am not the biggest fan of Melissa McCarthy. I loved her in Mike and Molly, which is obviously the TV show where she found fame. I think she's fantastic in that. I'm not always the biggest fan of her roles over the last few years. However, I agree with you. I think she is perfect for this.
She is. I mean, the look, the sound, she's got that down so far. And yes, The Little Mermaid is white with red hair in 80s Disney. That makes a lot of sense. That was the 80s, different time. Now, we've had a chance to take this back a little bit and go, hang on a minute. Number one, this is about a mermaid, so she can be the actor playing her, or actress, depending. Again, that's another whole other discussion. But the person playing Ariel could literally be anyone. Because she's a mermaid. But she's a mermaid in a Caribbean setting, and I think they've nailed that. She's got the songs down. We don't know about her performance yet. We haven't seen it. We know that she can sing it, though. We know that she can hit the notes. I love Javier Bardem. He's one of my absolute favourites. I'll watch him in literally anything. He's Triton in this.
I can't see him in anything other than No Country for Old Men. And
Silver in Skyfall, man.
It's ruined. What was it in the... what's the film with the famous... This is really good podcasting. I'm really sure you're all...
We've done this a couple of times and we go, I don't know.
He plays the... it was an Amazon Prime film.
Oh yeah, with Nicole Kidman.
Yes,
the what's it?
Played a famous TV actress.
Yeah,
what's it called?
It's not the
Lucy.
I Love Lucy.
I Love Lucy, and I can't think. And anyway. The point of my story was
everyone's literally shouting.
Yeah, I know. The point of my story was even in that, I still see him as the man from I can't remember his name in it, but from No Country for Old Men. Which, of course, he was the psychopath of all psychopaths.
Yeah, but even Daniel Craig will tell you that he steals Skyfall out from underneath him.
He's great. He's phenomenal. He's phenomenal, and I'm sure I'm sure he can play a crab as well.
He's not a crab. He's Triton. He's Ariel's dad.
Sorry. I thought he was the crab.
No, he's Triton, Ariel's father.
Right, okay,
he's the king of the ocean or whatever. But so. I think this is a good lineup so far. I'm very happy with that. And there's a ton of other great voices in it. Rob Marshall's a capable director. He makes popcorn movies. He makes movies for the cinema. So him taking a run at this with Lin-Manuel Miranda, by the way, on writing duties in terms of like additional music.
Who turns everything into gold. Everything he touches, it turns to gold.
Yeah. Was it being the Ricardos?
Yes, that was it. Go. Thank you.
I found it. It's right. Okay. So Little Mermaid so far. Yeah, there is the usual lashback about did we need it? We probably didn't, but there's the lashback about she's the wrong colour. Seen that a lot. That can stop. End that now. And I've seen a lot of the CGI looks really rushed. Well, it's not finished yet. It's not out till May. There's still time. I know I'm not going to say which films because I'm not allowed. But I can tell you for a fact there are movies coming out in May, June and July that I know are still being finished right now as we speak because I've had private conversations with people about those movies that are working on them. So that's not to say it's finished. They're showing you the best of what they've got available to show you right now on Oscar night, which is why they did it. There may still be some things to tweak. There may still be some work to do on the effects. There may still be some work to do with the music, etc., 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 etc. I think and I know that there are some people that are incredibly excited that this is coming on one side of the fence, and I know there are people on the other side of the fence that are incredibly upset that this is happening. My attitude towards, and I reckon that you and I are on the same page here. My attitude towards it is, I'll make that call when I see it.
Yeah.
I'm in neither direction. I'm quite excited. Actually, I'm quite excited about it. If I'm honest, I'm quite excited about it. But ultimately, until I've seen a finished cut of it, it is what it is, and I look forward to making that call when it happens. But that's The Little Mermaid. It's dropping in May. Cinemas everywhere. And we move on.
So, looking at what is coming out this week, this is our briefly mentioning and going over very, very quickly phase. So coming out this week, we have One Way or Another, Little English, Alleluia, which the trailer looks great. And we have The Age of Innocence, the 30th anniversary 4K release.
Talking to Scorsese, yeah, that's another one of his, making its 4K debut on the big screen. Mrs.
Chatterjee versus Norway.
That also looks good.
Winners. Other People's Children's, and finally, Other People's Children's? There was no plural on that, was there?
Did I put Other People's Children's?
No, I did.
Oh, okay.
Other People's Children, which makes a little bit more sense than Other People's Children's.
Yes, Them's looks good. Them's looks good.
And finally, Pearl.
Pearl, we talked about Pearl with Tyler Bates on last week's pod. So you've got a fair idea of what to expect from that. It's been out in America a little while. It does make its UK debut on Friday the 17th of March, just in case you're listening after that date. So do go and check it out. Do go and show it some support. Ty West, I think, is a brilliant director, and I really like X. And X is a movie that's grown on me and I like it more every time I see it. I think everything Tyler said about him and the movie is absolutely spot on. I'm really looking forward to Pearl, and we're looking forward to Maxine as well. I think that's going to be a really great. It's twisted, but as Tyler said, when you look past that, what's interesting about this that other horror movies don't necessarily have is that you actually have a little bit of sympathy for Maxine.
Yeah.
Because when you see
Maxine,
because Pearl is obviously before that. You have sympathy for for both those. You with me now?
Yep.
So Maxine also, but you have sympathy for Mia Goth's. Let's say Mia Goth's characters within this trilogy, as it will be. You have a little bit of sympathy for the fact that she's a product of her environment, not necessarily like that deep down. Maybe she's not that person, but she's kind of been forced to, there's layers and layers and layers. Anyway, Pearl's out. We will talk more about it. You're all going to go and find that some way, somehow. Yep. And again, thank you very much to Universal for their support with that. You will have more on that next week.
Right, now you can tell me all about Champions.
Yeah!
Because that was one of the films that I didn't get to see.
Well, this is the fun part. This is when we get to who saw what and where
I really
and how.
wanted to see this. We had our friend Stu Parsons talk about it on last week's show. You saw it this week. And thumbs up is what we're looking at.
Generally, I think so. So it's called Champions, and for those that don't know about it yet, it's directed by Bobby Farrelly, who gave us Green Book. Didn't that win Best Picture?
Yes.
Astounding. So what you're kind of sold is this movie where Woody Harrelson is a coach, and just to set that up, he essentially gets caught out on a DUI charge. So he has and this is all explained, but I'll give you the Cliff Notes version. He works as an assistant coach to a coach played by Ernie Hudson.
Okay.
Who legendary Ernie Hudson. And he has a particularly bad game and decides to go and hit the pub and then decides to drive home, which is, don't ever do that, ever.
No, we've all, I've had plenty of bad games and hit the pub, but not
drive afterwards. And so he's texting, he's drunk, and he's driving, and he goes into the back of a police car. Which, of course,
great comedy moment, by the way.
Which of course gets him up in front of a judge, and he has to pay fines and bail and all these other things. And the judge basically gives him this ultimatum: you either do this amount of time in jail, or you do community service. And I think the best use for your community service would be to coach a team of adults with disabilities and whip them into shape in terms of a basketball team. In fact, I don't even think that's the goal. I think intentionally they just want the boys to have a good, and girl, to have a good coach. I think that's essentially their kind of outline, and that they'll feel some togetherness and get some expert. He's away on like this. I want to be an NBA.
Right. Got you.
He's got one head, and so and thus sets up kind of one of the first problems with the movie is that you pretty much can call every frame of it.
Yeah.
So he goes there, and straight away you're going, I know what's going to happen here. This is the story arc. He's going to go be completely distracted the whole time. He's going to do his 90 days in this recreational centre, which is run by Cheech Marin, by the way. Really nice to see him in such a lovely role.
I love Cheech Marin.
He's really good in this as well.
Fantastic.
He's not usual Cheech Marin. He's quite sweet, lovely Cheech Marin in this, and I really enjoyed that. And so you kind of feel like, I know what's going to happen here. He's going to come in and he's going to basically do the base level to get off his community service, and then he's going to go and chase his NBA dreams, which he does, of course, throughout the movie. That's not a spoiler. I think it's obvious to anyone that sees the setup for this movie. Literally anyone right now that hasn't seen this can probably call every shot of it.
My name is Marcus Markovich, and I am going to be your basketball coach for the next 3 months.
Nope.
Wait, what?
I said nope.
Is this something he normally does?
Nope.
That's Darius. He's our best player. I'm Johnny. I'm your homie with an extra chromie.
Whoa. And so what we get is this beautiful film where, although it's quite obvious that of course he's going to grow to love these guys, of course he's going to suddenly think, hang on a minute, they've got something truly amazing. If I can just get them to work as a team, if I can just get them to collaborate, actually they've got the potential to go very, very far. And watching his transition from arrogant, stuck-up idiot to caring, decent individual is a beautiful thing to behold.
Right, okay.
But what they do is they set us up with, come and see this Woody Harrelson movie about basketball. Because, historically, Woody Harrelson movies about basketball have worked out pretty well.
Pretty good.
What you actually get once you get inside is a movie where the basketball team steal the carpet, not the carpet, the whole film out from under him. And I'm sure he's quite happy to hear that. Because they are just outstanding actors. I loved every single frame that they were in, and all I wanted to do was watch more of that team. Their friendship, their camaraderie, their cheekiness. They are so brilliant. And this, for me, it just made my heart melt, the whole movie. I was like, I love this. Yes, is it obvious? Yes. Do I know exactly? And there are so many foreshadowing moments as well.
Right,
I said to you before, there's a bunch of stuff that happens in the first act and you kind of go, oh yeah, that's going to come back later.
Yeah.
But despite the fact that, yes, it's very middle of the road sports drama, yes, it's very obvious, yes, you know exactly where it's going to go next, there are some really, really warm-hearted moments. It's full of warm-hearted moments, actually. Yes, it's funny. Yes, there are some really great performances. And yes, the team outshine Woody Harrelson. And again, I'm sure he's not at all miffed about hearing that at all. Because, like I said, you come in wanting Woody Harrelson, and what you come away with is this beautiful film about these wonderful, wonderful basketball players. So yeah, all things considered, yes, is it a good movie? Yes, it is a good movie. And I agree with what Stu said about drawing more attention to the disabled community and Special Olympics and things like that. So I agree with that as a process. There are times where, yes, maybe just slightly it creeps in there. I was a little bit I'm always consciously aware of jokes at their expense, which I was like on the watch for the entire time. I was like, okay, don't make this movie at their expense. Is it guilty of maybe creeping into that area at times a little bit much? Yeah, okay, but I get kind of where they're going with it and why. So ultimately, good fun, very funny, very heartwarming. But yes, you've seen it all before, and it's like every other sports drama or every other man on an arc.
It sounds
journeyman.
like it will do very well when it goes to streaming.
I think so. I mean, there's nothing aside from being completely obvious and something I've seen so many times in every other sports drama before. There's still some very lovable things about it, and some really good, well-timed comic moments. But overall, I would say 3 out of 5.
Yeah.
3 out of 5. I think that's fair. It's still a good, solid score. It's a good, solid, well-rounded, as we always say, beer and pizza movie. You could really get into that. Or if you just want something to real lift your spirits, because it is heartwarming. The thing it's got, more than anything else, is it really warms the heart.
Is it a family film? Is there bad language in there?
There's some bad language in it. I think it's a 12.
So
yeah, actually no.
Okay.
So it is actually, yeah. So Champions 12A certificate. It's in cinemas now. I'm going to go with 3 stars out of 5 because for any faults it may have, it is generally overall quite lovely and an easy watch.
Okay, so we are now going to talk about 65. Do you want to go?
I'm just going to look at the time first before I do this. Okie dokie, right. I'm aware of the time. There we go. Okay, so 65. He's silent. I love it. He's silent. 65. This is the movie with Adam Driver in space, who crash lands on a planet full of dinosaurs that we talked about last week. And as I recall, this was the movie that you were rooting to be the best thing ever. And you were railing against me because I said I'm just unbothered. I said it will either be the best thing you've ever seen or the worst thing you've ever seen. And actually what's transpired is we're both wrong, really.
Yeah.
And I love it. I love being wrong. I am fully into being wrong. I was pleasantly surprised by it. But what I think is most interesting about this conversation is the dynamic between you being its cheerleader and me being not so bothered. And now I'm its cheerleader and you are not.
No, I'm not.
And how actually sitting down and watching something instead of, like, we're always not prejudging, but we're always surmising what may or may be or how something will and won't turn out. But my favourite part about screening films is how you go in with one expectation and come out sometimes with completely another.
Yeah.
And that is why I love this gig. What is happening here with us in 65 is one of the many reasons I love this gig, because it completely switched the tables, didn't it?
Yeah.
I liked it. I don't think, and I said this to you when I walked out, because you went in after me, so you were like, tell me what you think. And I sent a message to you. I said, I don't think it's as good as you're hoping it will be, but I don't think it's as terrible as anybody had any reason to expect it to be either. I just think it's in the middle.
Well, I wanted it to be better than Jurassic World Dominion.
I think it is.
I don't think it is.
I think it is.
I don't think it is, and that disappoints me massively.
Okay, well, the thing that I find interesting about 65 is that it surprised me. And that straight away piqued my interest. Like I was like, I literally sat up and went, oh. So yes, I mean, let's be honest, the whole setup is utterly bonkers anyway. And it's like B-movie, DTV, sci-fi schlock.
So let me start by saying that this is from the guys who brought us A Quiet Place. I believe that they wrote this and produced A Quiet Place, and it was only because John Krasinski wanted to direct it and he passionately sold himself as a director to these guys that they didn't direct it themselves. They were going to. And basically, this is their film that they get to do with what they wanted.
And produced by Sam Raimi.
Yes.
Also. So, yeah, it is a completely bonkers setup, and I've said this in previous episodes. So I kind of just went with it and went, this would be either, as I said to you before, the worst thing I've ever seen or the best thing I've ever seen, or it'll be somewhere in the middle, whatever. But ultimately, it was somewhere in the middle. I got into the whole premise of it. Yep, he's crash landed. Yep, I'm going to get a bunch of Journey to the Centre of the Earth reference. In fact, I actually started writing a list of all the things that it references.
All the other films?
Yeah.
Right,
so
okay.
I noticed it smacks of like Journey to the Centre of the Earth, After Earth, even Strange World to a degree. And I noticed there was a Lethal Weapon 2 reference in there when you spot it. What were the other things that it reminded me a lot of? It just reminded me a lot of everything kind of sci-fi adventure ever. And Alien. I mean, there was
literally just about
couple of Alien moments.
I was literally just about to say
and
that.
they actually said that they cited that as a reference during the process.
It's kind of Aliens with dinosaurs.
Alien when they're coming down, and then Aliens once they arrive. But so I get all those references, and that was nice. I mean, all those movies did it better. But when you get through the layers of this film, it's the survival story that, and I won't spoil it, but the premise is actually bonkers. That he's this and he's there.
I don't think you'll overly spoil it, but I mean, a lot of it is in the trailer, isn't it?
Yeah, and so, but in case somebody didn't see the trailer, whatever, I'm going to ruin that. But where he is, why he's there, and when he's there, already made me go, really though?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
So there was that.
I'm with you.
But I suspend my disbelief, and then I went, okay, I'm just going to enjoy this for what it is. But then it got to the point. I know I'm terrible at it, but when the film got to the point, I was like, oh. So this is what this is about, actually. The subtext of it, the heart of the film, isn't about him running around shooting dinosaurs trying to escape a counting timer to destruction at all. It's actually about something else.
All of that is terrible, by the way.
It's when it gets to it, it's actually about something else entirely. And when it got to that, for me, that bumped it up a star, because for the most part I was like, this is okay, it's just all right. Like, this is a 2-star movie. I watched it once, it was all right. I'll probably never watch it again, because it is not without its massive list of problems. Then it got to the point and I went, oh, I like that. You surprised me. I wasn't expecting you to go there or be about this. I thought it was going to be literally pew 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 pew, dinosaurs, run away, quick, timer counting down, let's do something else.
I'll give you that. I will give you the big twist, the big subplot.
Well, it's not even a twist,
it's not
is
a twist,
it?
It's a subplot.
It's just there's a heart to this film that I was not expecting. And when it presented itself, I was like, that's beautiful. And I like that.
I will give you that, and I will admit that was a nice touch throughout the film, but it didn't give it enough of a lift to detract from everything else that was bad in the film. the fact that the titles are 15 minutes into the main film, and when the titles do come in, they literally spoon feed you what is happening, and that the premise is so ridiculous, and the coincidences that happen one after another, and oh, it's really terrible, and you happen to have landed on this planet which is full of dinosaurs, and then, by the way, that's not the worst thing that's going to happen to you in the next few days, and you just go, no, come on, no, I'm not having it. I'm not having it. I'm just not. It's. How can we make this worse? No. How can we make that worse? No, seriously. What else can we do? Let's just make the. The meme with Ant and Dec talking to somebody with the earpiece. That was the directors of this film going, now what else can we do to make this even worse? And it's just ridiculous.
Yeah, I can't remember.
As if surviving dinosaurs eating you isn't bad enough. There's something else that's about to happen that's going to make the whole situation even worse. And yeah, you're on a countdown, you're on a timer, and I understand why you liked it a bit more than me.
Yeah.
I do understand why you did, and I like that. However, I don't like that enough to save this from being a really bad film that I was incredibly disappointed with after really wanting it to be good and really wanting to see it. I can't tell you how disappointed I was that I went to see this instead of Champions.
You set your bar so high for this as well. I think it was easy for you to be let down by it. I've been around long enough to go, this will be all right, and not really go in with a very low bar. And actually, that's why I was pleasantly surprised by it.
My other thing is how many films these days, other than Spielberg's Jurassic Park's Worlds, how many other films have dinosaurs in them? None. So there's another film there's not many.
Well, yeah, okay.
So another film comes out with dinosaurs, and you go, yes. And then I quickly go, no. It's just, no.
They died 65 million years ago.
Hang on. That could be the title of the film.
They came back in 93. After that, not so much. Anyway, yeah. So it's hokum. It's bonkers, nonsensical hokum. But when it gets things right, Adam Driver, for example.
Yeah, Adam. Listen, you've got one of the best actors in the world right now in Adam Driver. He is good. I mean, it takes on from A Quiet Place in the fact that there is not a lot of dialogue in this film, is there?
No.
And there's reasons for that, which we won't get into, but there is reason for the lack of dialogue as well. So you have to be able to watch this film and almost watch it on mute.
That's my stomach. I'm sorry about
that. But yeah, you almost be able to watch it on mute.
Quiet Place does that better.
A lot better.
So,
a lot better.
Adam Driver and his relationship with the child in this movie is utterly heartwarming. But that's one of its saving graces. The other saving grace for me was Chris Bacon's music. I know Danny Elfman was also involved. But largely Chris Bacon's score was just sensational. The funny thing about that is I went back straight away and listened to the score album. Right, I wasn't much interested in watching the movie again, but I was interested in hearing the music again. So I will give it some kudos for that. Chris did a really great job with its music, and I say Danny Elfman also involved. And then the other thing, of course, was then when it cut to the heart of what it was really about. I was like, oh, I like that. So for me, it barely scratches a 3 out of 5. Barely, but it's just under.
I would give it a 2.
Yeah, but see, for me, it was a 2 until I got to what you get to.
No,
and I mean, and don't get me wrong, there's no, to be clear, there's no twist here. This is something that unfolds over the course of the film, and you very quickly pick up that actually this is what the film is really about at its core. That for me was pushing it just past that two-star line. So I'm going to go with a 3 out of 5. You're going with a 2 out of 5.
Yeah.
So somewhere in the middle of those things, it's like 2.5.
Yeah.
Give or take. So that gives you an idea. It's called 65. It's in cinemas now. Check it out if you want to. If you have checked it out and you agree with us at Need a Bigger Pod. If you don't agree with us and you think it's the best thing ever made, at Need a Bigger Pod.
Please, 100%.
Everything we say, that's just like our opinion, man. So by all means, if you do still go and see these movies and do give us your take, I am working in the background quite quietly. He knows this because he's seen me doing it, on some prizes and stuff, and maybe some bits and pieces or goodies, just to say thanks to you guys for your input. So over the coming weeks on the pod, you will see some little rewards up for grabs if you've written in, and we'll pick the best one and all that kind of stuff. So yeah. And next on the list
is Play Dead.
Oh, this is on you, man.
This is all on me. I watched
you
this
had
one
time
at
to
home.
I didn't have time to see this, so yeah, go on.
So I will set up the premise, whatever it is.
It's all
yeah.
Tomato,
yeah. So, two friends decide to rob a bank.
Okay.
And one of them goes in to rob the bank, and one is the getaway driver.
Okay.
The guy that goes in to rob a bank, it's going to be easy. It's going to be a doddle. It's not going to be a problem. I'll be back in a minute.
That's setting you up for failure straight away.
He does come back in a minute, and he comes back with a big hole in his arm and a bullet wound, and he's been shot. And of course, the security guard comes out, shooting his gun, and the guy driving the car makes a break for it, and he's gone. So he goes to his sister's house, who is also the ex-girlfriend of the guy who got shot, who he was with.
Yeah.
And he tells her what he's done. And, of course, she is, I can't believe you've done this. Why did you do this? You're an absolute idiot, blah, 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 blah.
Is this the plot or the premise?
Let's talk about how we can make sure that you do not get caught.
Yeah.
Did you do this? No. Did you do that? No. Did you do... Oh... We planned the whole thing over text, and he's got his phone on him.
Okay.
You absolute idiot. Right, okay. We need to get his phone back. Where's his phone? It's on him. He's died. He's in the morgue. I need to get into the morgue.
Right.
So I think she's a chemistry student or something like that. But anyway, she knows that she can be injected with this serum, whatever you want to call it, and it will slow her heart rate down enough for the paramedics to think she's dead. They will take her to the morgue, and in 2 hours' time, she'll wake up.
Is this a synopsis, or are you just basically telling me the movie?
I'm telling you the entire movie, because this is... Right.
No, you can't do that. You're only supposed to give me the synopsis.
Right. Okay.
You just told me the entire film.
I'm just telling you the setup. This is literally just the setup. This is the first 10 minutes.
Okay, all right. That's fine then. That's fine.
So... She then wakes up in the morgue, and the mortician, this is America, isn't it? So it's a coroner. Yeah, it's totally different UK and America. Anyway, he is played by Jerry O'Connell.
Oh, Jerry O'Connell.
Scream 2 fame.
Yeah.
And many other things, of course.
Jerry Maguire.
Yeah. And he is doing things that he possibly shouldn't be doing to the dead bodies.
Plot twist.
Yes,
okay.
Exactly. So she's gone from wanting to get in there to get her brother's phone, get out as quick as she can, to now thinking, what the F is going on?
Yeah.
What the F is this guy doing?
Yeah.
And once he finds me, I'm in trouble.
Yeah, so this is... Okay, so it's a heist.
I will say the heist is literally about 2 or 3 minutes.
So there's a heist... which then leads to another heist, in theory.
Yes.
Which then leads to some perversion.
And if you throw a little bit of Saw, maybe a little bit of Hostel in there as well.
Right.
And then I won't tell you how it ends, of course.
Yeah.
But what I will say is the plot is a lot better than the actual film is.
Okay.
The setup of the film that everything it could be, the idea of the film is great. I have no idea what the budget for this film was. I don't think it was much. I think if it was over £50, I would be very impressed.
Wow.
It's a shame because Jerry O'Connell is a very darker side of Jerry O'Connell, clearly because of the part he's playing. But he's great. He's him. And I apologise. I'm not sure. Shall I have a quick look of the actresses' names?
Go and have a look. There should be a thing in your thing. I love how unprepared.
Thing in your thing.
I love how unprepared we are every single week.
It's been
Also, you're the one that has to look at stuff. Yet you have all the screens.
Got all the screens, right? Bailey Madison. Bailey Madison is the actress, and she's great in it as well. She's very good. It's just a bit. how can I put this? It's just a bit B-movie. It's just a bit schlocky. It's if you threw another $20 million at this, you would have probably the likes of a Saw or a Hostel, one of these torture porn films that were huge in 15 years ago, whenever it was. Yeah, you would have that type of a film. Unfortunately, it doesn't have that budget, so they kind of some of the special effects are not great, some of the CGI is not great, that kind of thing. The twist, if you want to call it a twist, whatever you want to call it, is not great, and you can kind of see that coming as well. If you are into these types of films, if you're into your B-movie, little bit of gore, I know we don't really do straight-to-video films these days, it's more straight to streaming. Yeah. But if you like that type of a film, I'm sure this is probably right up your alley.
Okay, so what's good about it?
What's good about it? The idea, the plot is good. I really liked what it could have been. I really like that. I thought, like I say, Jerry O'Connell's great. There's a couple of moments that are very tense. Obviously, as you can imagine, she needs to hide in certain situations. She needs to play dead. Yeah, hence the title. And some of the suspense is quite good, and I will give it that. It just doesn't execute it as well as what I hoped it would have done. Okay. Now, I will admit, as soon as you've seen the first 10 minutes of this film, you know it's not going to be a 10-star masterpiece, but I did hope that I would be able to give this a solid 3 out of 5. I thought, I could recommend this if you enjoy this type of film. It didn't hit those heights, unfortunately, and much to say, similar with 65, I would give it a 2 out of 5. With 65, I was massively more disappointed because I was expecting a lot more. Yeah. With this, I wasn't expecting much. It didn't exceed my expectations, but it didn't. It wasn't lower than my expectations either. So, a 2 out of 5, I feel is fair for this one.
That's called Play Dead. It is in cinemas from Friday, the 17th of March. Thank you, Paul. We'll move on now to the big film of the week.
The big film of the week.
Okay, look, I might not have as much experience as you because I'm not like super old like you, but I think I have a few experiences that you don't have. Because I've seen all of the Fast and the Furious movies, lady. And let me tell you something. It's all about family! Family! Guys, that was a signal. We practiced this like 12 times. Thank you. Forgot all about my family, didn't you, goddess?
We move on to Shazam, which is easily the biggest film of the week, I think. There are a lot of films out this week, but Shazam! Fury of the Gods is by far and away the biggest one out this week.
I am very excited about this, I have to say.
Which leads me to my next question. Have you, Paul Marsh, seen Shazam yet?
No.
I haven't seen it yet either. But we did tell people that we were going to review Shazam in this episode, didn't we?
Well, this is embarrassing.
I think we're going to have to call in our very own superhero.
Oh, I need a fanfare. We need a fanfare.
For a superhero, someone that can fly in at the last minute, be our best supply teacher, and be all over this. Please welcome to the pod, Mr. Ruben Shaw.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
How are you, sir? So for those that don't know, Ruben is the chief, the top dog, the big cheese at the Ruby Tuesday, which is his YouTube channel where there's lots of awesome content, reviews and features and so forth on there. He's also one half of Movies and Munchies and also an author and also many other cool things. He's also my friend. So welcome, Ruben. Thank you very, very much for flying in there at the last minute to coin a superhero pun and saving the day with your thoughts, because you were at the IMAX in London last night, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, very, very fully packed.
Oh, I bet it was. So, Shazam! Fury of the Gods, man, give us the rundown. I know that you and I are very non-spoilery, and we don't do that. So, I know that you will appreciate my point of view on this. Give us the synopsis without the spoilers, if you can.
Sure. David F. Sandberg is back to direct. Unfortunately, he was unable to make his own premiere because he came down with COVID.
I saw that.
Oh, no.
Yeah, no, he did. Yeah, it was very, very sad. He's lovely as well, David F. Sandberg.
So I was very happy to watch it for him. And I would say that for me, it's better than the first one. So everybody that loved the first one, I think you really enjoy this one. it does something magical with its budget. It's 100 million, and somehow they make it look so much better than the other superhero films that I'm not going to mention, which is quite a feat. But the story basically is the first one. We had him Zachary Levi coming to terms with his powers. Like, I'm a superhero now. This time round, it's the whole family. And they're coming to terms with being a superhero family. We have the MacGuffin storyline. That is, there's two big bads. They're coming back for this power. They don't believe our family deserves this power. And that's where it comes head to head.
I don't deserve these powers, if I'm being honest. Like, what am I even contributing? There's already a superhero with a red suit with a lightning bolt on it. And I'm fast, but he's faster. Aquaman is literally huge, and he's so manly. And Batman is so cool. And I'm just me. And I can't say this to anyone else because my family looks to me as a leader, but I feel like a fraud.
You understand I'm a pediatrician, right?
It's paint by numbers. You're going to guess everything that this film has to offer. Mostly, I say mostly because there's a nice few surprises in this film. Ooh. However, the film is really good with its dialogue, mostly down to Zachary Levi and how do you pronounce his name? Djimon Hounsou?
Djimon Hounsou.
Thank you.
Love Djimon Hounsou.
You get much more content with him this time. I was surprised by the amount of screen time he gets. And every time he's on the screen with one of our characters, they're just bouncing off each other. So the heart of the film is the comedy and the heart of family. To quote Fast and Furious, it's all about family.
This year is all about family, isn't it?
It's what it's about. And so I think this film is for people who just want to escape blockbuster popcorn action fun.
Ooh, I like this. And you were talking about two big bads there. I think it was, I'm going to guess Lucy Liu and Helen Mirren are the two big bads?
Absolutely correct. Yeah. That is the weakest part of the film, in my opinion. They are awesome in what they are given. However, what they're given is not a lot.
Wow.
So there isn't a lot of background to their story. You understand why they're doing what they're doing, but there's no sort of flashbacks to what happened to them, how they got to that bit. You're just kind of told the story through exposition. A little bit is focused on them, but mostly it's all the family and the action set pieces around. If you've seen the trailer, the dragon is phenomenal, and the mythical creatures that you see in this film are going to blow your mind to a level of, oh, that's awesome, and then to a level of, oh, they went there with this thing, without doing spoilers. And I think people are going to be amazed. But John, for you, I think the thing that you often like about movies, because you're such a sound guy, is the score.
Christoph Beck.
And yeah, man.
So I've heard the score.
Wow.
The score's amazing. I'm a huge fan of Ben Wolfish's score for the first movie, which was just outstanding. I mean, that was on a level with Maestro Williams himself, that first score. So for this to be composed by Christoph Beck, to have a different musical, not DNA in the respect of we've got a brand new composer to the table to this franchise, for him to do his own thing with it in a really interesting and really beautiful way was quite mesmerizing. Obviously, I haven't seen it in context with the film yet. You have, but from what I'm hearing so far from Christoph Beck, I'm very impressed.
Yeah, it swells at all the right moments. You know, if you're seeing it in the biggest, loudest cinema possible, you're going to really appreciate those horns and the orchestral pieces as they swell into the dragon flying on screen, or the comedy dialogue moments. All of that works really well. But in tangent, my word, the sound design. I haven't enjoyed a sound design so much since Top Gun Maverick. Like, it's on that quality.
Ooh.
Now, if you go back all the way, taking you way back to Inception, when we had Zimmer's bombs.
The bomb!
The bombs. Everybody uses that to death. Thankfully, they have a new sound that I think is now going to be everywhere, but it's new and different, so they've kind of coined it the first time, and it works so well. You'll know it when you hear it. it kind of puts shivers down on the, your hair will stand up and you'll be like, oh, that's amazing. And if the chairs vibrate, it's not because it's too loud. It's because the type of tone they are using is reverberating through the chairs, almost making the air itself shimmer, which is freaking awesome.
You excite me, sir.
Now, Ruben, I've got 2 young children. I've got a 9-year-old and a 5-year-old. I get the feeling that this film might just be out of their reach, is it?
Yeah, there's a couple of moments where I went, oh, that's pretty gross. Or there's a couple of moments where if your kids, depending on, anybody's kids or where they're at in life, if they have an understanding of what's happening on screen, let's say a death that they don't really show, but it happens and somebody's reaction to that is quite heavy. So there's heavy moments, but that's very few and far between. Mostly it's just a spectacular extravaganza on the screen. Like you're seeing full blast colors. It's mostly action.
Are there any
comedy.
kind of frightening scenes in there?
I mean, the dragon is pretty frightening. It's a very interesting design for the dragon. He's got a wooden design, but he's terrifying, and his very nature terrifies you because of what he is.
Ooh.
So, and the mythical creatures as well, they're pretty scary. If you think about back to kind of Zeus's mythical creatures, the centaurs, that kind of thing that you get in there, depends on what your kids are exposed to. Do they watch anime? Do they watch mythical creatures in animated series? They may love it. It just depends on the child.
Yeah.
Which is why it's a 12A, I guess.
I guess it could be a trip to the cinema on my own, I think, for that one then.
You could parent it first and have the excuse to go again.
Well, this is what I'm thinking. Think outside the box. That means 2 trips. I'll be happy with that.
I mean, I'm definitely going back. So that tells you something about how much I enjoyed it.
I wanted to ask you about because the first one, I love the first one in that it reminded me a lot of that kind of 80s Spielberg. Do you remember when you watch the first one and it gives you very much the kind of the Goonies and Gremlins kind of vibe about it, that kind of Amblin era Spielberg vibe, which the first one has. Is that carried into the second film?
Sort of. I would probably go forward a decade into the 90s because of the family unit. That there is more of that sort of, how do they cope with each other? They're all kind of wanting to live their own lives, but have the weight and responsibility of being a superhero. And what that means for each of them. You think about the age range of the kids themselves. They're all going through different stages in their life, you know, from puberty to liking the girl, but not being able or brave enough to be able to go and ask her out. But yet your alter ego is so superhuman. If I could just be that superhero in front of her. So they're dealing with that. It feels more like a 90s sitcom rather than that's what we had in the first one. That's not to say there isn't those moments, because with Zachary, the timing, if you go back to his Chuck days, he cut his teeth on Chuck for 5 seasons. Perfect comedy timing.
Yeah.
And he's brought that into this for sure.
Amazing. See, now I'm hyped. I was hyped for it anyway. We're just incredibly grateful that you had an opportunity to get there. Because I think we were kind of passing it around, weren't we? There was like 3 or 4 of us going, can any of us actually be there on Tuesday? I don't actually know, because we were kind of manic and with other cool stuff, which we will talk about in a future episode. I can't talk about that right now, but there is a very good reason for it. In the meanwhile, though, Ruben was there. He had a great time. So far, so good on his review and reaction. Ruben, what would you give it out of 5?
See, I've been really struggling with this one because the critic in me that will be grumpy and moody will like dissect it and go, this is a 3.5. But the movie lover in me, the geek in me, gives us a 4. So I'll go with movie lover. And I'll say 4.
4 stars.
That's good.
I gave the first one a 4, actually.
Yeah,
so it's nice to know that. Yeah, that it's continuing that that standard of quality.
Yeah, happy with that. Very happy. Looking forward to it even more.
Very much so. And Ruben, just before you go, mate, just give us a quick kind of update on where you're at with all your other projects. Let us know how we can find out more about you. How can folks see more reviews like this one? How can they learn more about you? Tell us about it.
Okay, so the Ruby Tuesday on YouTube, also Movies and Munchies, and I do a podcast together like you guys. We talk about all geeky things and movies mostly every week. And that is the best thing we watched. And we have a Patreon called The Bearded Ones, where we talk about more beardy things and like personal life issues. And then on Amazon, I have a book out in there called The Little Ninja that my son and I collaborated on. He illustrated fantastic artist, and that was something that we did together as a project and had that published. And then I have my trilogy coming soon, if I can get a literary agent, on my third novel. Almost finishing that now, so that's coming soon as well. But the Ruby Tuesday basically everywhere on social media.
It's the best place to find out literally anything you need to know about Mr. Ruben Shaw. Thank you very much, sir. Really appreciate you jumping in on this one. Thank you for being our superhero of the week, our guest critic this week, Mr. Ruben Shaw. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you very much once again to Ruben Shaw. Check him out on YouTube, The Ruby Tuesday, and you can see more details about all his other work. Great videos he does, reviews, podcasts, interviews, features, everything's on there. The Ruby Tuesday on YouTube. Go seek him out. And on socials, right. Shazam, Fury of the Gods is out now. It's out Friday 17th of March. There we go. That's dropping Friday. And time now for our first of two big interviews. Paul Marsh, what have you got?
Our first of two big interviews. There is a new drama, a drama comedy. Is it dramedy? That's what they call it, isn't it? A drama comedy is a dramedy.
It is.
Yeah.
I think it looked more... Well, if you're about to talk about what I think you're about to talk about, it kind of looks more like action-y than...
Yeah, it's got... I will be completely honest with you. It's got absolutely everything in it. I've seen a couple of episodes, and it's very, very good. So okay. I am talking about A Town Called Malice, which is the new series on Sky Max and Now TV, which is currently out. It's starring Jack Rowan and Tahirah Sharif, and I was lucky enough to be able to catch up with them and chat about the series. How are you doing both?
Hi, Paul. You're right.
Yeah, good, thank you.
Can I just check the pronunciation of your name, please?
Tahirah.
No, sorry, I was talking to Jack.
Yeah. It's
sorry.
It's Jack.
It's Jack. Yeah. Two syllables. It's Jack.
So glad to clear that up, Jack. Thank you for that. So I'm talking to Jack Rowan and Tahirah Sharif, who star in the new Sky Max drama called A Town Called Malice. I do have to get this one off my chest straight away. I absolutely love it. I think it's brilliant.
That's a relief.
Thank you. How many have you watched?
I've seen the first 2 episodes.
Lovely. And are you itching for more?
It's been a very, very busy week, and my aim is to get through the rest of them possibly tonight or tomorrow night.
Amazing.
Well, we ain't got through them all yet. We've only seen up to 6 ourselves.
Yeah, so we've still got 2 more to go, and I'm like, can't wait.
Yeah.
I do have to say, I think a touch more realism when Jean and Cindy meet in the club would have been nice. Obviously, you two strike a chat, a casual conversation. I think if you're going to meet in a club, you're going to scream at each other for about 2 minutes over the top of the music and then give up, aren't you?
But if this was probably nowadays we would. If this was a story set into 2020 whatever, it would probably be like, yep, can't hear you, mate, I'll see you later. Yeah.
Or you just kind of write in your notes and show them on your phone.
Yeah. How sad that is.
Yeah, literally talk by text. It stood next to each other. So obviously, look, the music is a huge part of this TV series, and it is absolutely phenomenal. I find the music and the action go hand in hand. How much did you know about the music before the post-production?
It was there in the script right from the beginning, and all credit to Nick Love. You know, like obviously they added extra songs and stuff like that in post-production, but genuinely from the jump in the script, before I'd even auditioned, every single song was included exactly where Nick wanted it to
this
kind of
playing now.
To bolster the action and the tone. And it just so it was so easy when you were reading it to like really visualize everything that was going on.
Well, before we even started shooting, my playlist was about 5 hours long of songs actually mentioned in the script, let alone ones that they'll put in post.
So some of the outfits are also interesting. Did you talk to your parents about the 80s and maybe the clothes and the fashion and everything?
Well, my mum, like she always says that the 80s was the greatest time ever. So, you know, if she's ever feeling down, I'll go, well, Mum, you said it yourself. You lived through, you know, the best time. So, but my mum was more of like a rocker. So she weren't into all the stuff I was wearing, so I couldn't draw upon her for any inspiration. Actually, both you know, my dad is actually 10 years younger than my mum, but even my dad was a rocker, so none of them were were into the sort of casual wear that Jean wears. But she appreciated it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, my mum, I definitely spoke to my mum and like my aunties, and you know, to kind of just get like the everyday fashion, because not people in the 80s weren't just constantly walking around in like shoulder pads and leg warmers. But it was really cool. I was able to kind of look at photos of my mum from that time, and oh my God, my mum was so cool. Like rocking the double denim and like cool loafers and stuff. And I kind of was able to show some of those photos to Molly, our costume designer, who was able to take inspiration. So it was nice. It was really nice to have those little kind of personal touches.
Now, Cindy's bows really are next level, so I've got to give props to that one. However, talking about Cindy, some of Cindy's language is very choice indeed.
Yeah.
And I can't obviously say this because this is going out on the radio.
Yeah.
But what she says when she stood next to the pool, literally made me spit out a cup of tea because it was that funny.
Go on, you can say it. Yeah,
no, I like my job and I want to keep it.
Yeah. Yeah, we had a lot of, I mean, I had a load of fun saying a lot of those lines in the script. And I mean, it's all from the head, from the mind, the wonderful mind of Nick Love. And I think all of us, I can speak for all of us, everyone had so much fun, just saying really kind of, I'd say using very choice words that you probably wouldn't use in your everyday life, speaking to people. And it was so much fun.
Yeah.
So much fun.
There's a lot of charm in the way Nick Love writes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, agreed. I think the script is absolutely fantastic. Now, we all know that you two are the real stars of this TV series. However, you've got a couple of up-and-comers working with you in Jason Fleming and Martha Plimpton. Did you show them the ropes? Did you kind of help them along?
Yeah, we kind of you had to take them under our wing and, teach them, you know.
I had to really recommend Jason for this role. I was like, honestly, trust him. He's got it in him. He's got this performance in him, And
I had to have a kind of a quiet word with Martha on the side and give her a bit of pep talk on it, confidence and presence on set. I think she took it on.
When you say Ma Mint, you really need to, pronunciate the mint.
Yeah, exactly.
So how was it working with two legends?
Oh man, both on and off camera, we all just got on as people, so that naturally transcended perfectly on screen. If anything, I was like, I actually wanted more scenes with them, because even with you Tahirah, actually, because actually as the story goes on, we do have our separate journeys going on.
And we actually would miss each other.
I would miss you,
I'd be like, oh, Jack's on set today.
I definitely missed Jason more than you, but I'm joking. I actually missed you the most. I missed Tahirah the most.
Better.
And it was the same. But having scenes with Martha and Jace, they were so giving as actors, just as they are as people.
Yeah, just wonderful. And also we had another legend in Gray Scott as well. And Gray was, we spent a lot of we both spent a lot of time filming with him in kind of the first few episodes, and he was I couldn't keep a straight face a lot of the time. He was just brilliant, absolutely brilliant,
and he nailed that because that Uncle Tony is such a big,
massive character.
So
yes, you could definitely say he is a huge character.
Yeah.
That would be a nice way of putting it. Unfortunately, our time's coming to an end, but I do just want to say how beautiful was that Rolls Royce, and it must have been amazing to drive.
Oh,
well,
Jack wouldn't know.
I can't drive, but but they do. Yeah, so Tahirah can take the reins on this one.
Yeah. You know what? That Rolls was massive, but actually it was quite easy to drive because it was an automatic.
Was it an automatic, was it?
It was.
Oh, wow.
It was really cool. It was cool to drive, man.
I
Nice
could've
little
driven
drop
it.
top.
I could've driven
I mean, it would have been illegal, but yeah.
Yeah. Also, I believe it was not, they actually painted it that colour. I believe it was originally blue.
Yes, you are right.
So so I don't know if is that a good thing or a bad thing, because like you painted over the Rolls Royce, but I actually think it came out probably looking
I
better.
think the yellow Rolls was very cool.
And that yellow is spot on.
Ream.
It really pops. Jack, Tahirah, thank you so much for talking to me. I absolutely love A Town Called Malice. It's out on Sky Max on March 16th, and I highly recommend that people go and catch it.
Yes,
Cheers,
we do
Paul.
too.
Thank
you.
Cheers, guys. All the best. Thank you very much.
Cheers, man. Thank you.
Jack Rowan and Tahirah Sharif from A Town Called Malice. Thank you very much to both of those guys. Really enjoyed talking to them, and sound like amazing people.
They do. They sounded awesome. That sounded like all the fun.
It was good. It's nice when you actually kind of let your guard down and I stop being the interviewer, they stop being the interviewee, and you just have fun having a chat.
Those are where the best conversations take place.
So A Town Called Malice is out now on Sky Max and Now, and I will tell you very, very briefly what it is about. It's a London gangster family set in the 80s that do lots of naughty things, my son, lots of naughty things.
It's Nick Love, isn't it? We said this earlier.
Yeah.
So he of Business, The Football Factory, etc. Yeah.
So they get up to things they shouldn't be getting up to in London. They have a rival family that also get up to things they shouldn't be getting up to in London.
But of course.
And something terrible happens, and they have to make a break for it. And they have to go off to see their Uncle Tony, who happens to live in the Costa del Sol. And of course, the Costa del Sol in the 80s was a very interesting place to be, my son.
I like that.
It's really, really good. It's really, really, really good. It's got great drama. It's got great action. I mentioned it in the interview to Tahirah. There is a scene around a swimming pool. She talks to Uncle Tony, who's played by Dougray Scott, by the way, who is absolutely fantastic. And they have a little bit of back and forth. He's not the nicest of guys, Uncle Tony. He's not the nicest of guys.
Of course.
They have a little bit of back and forth, and her comeback is so funny that I was sat there with a cup of tea whilst I was drinking it, whilst I was watching it one evening, and I spat the tea. I spat the tea everywhere.
Hopefully not over the dog.
No, I think the dog was asleep at the other end of the sofa, but it's funny. It's funny. It's great. I would definitely recommend that if you have Sky Max, if you have Now, watch it. You will not regret watching this. It is brilliant.
If you're a fan of Nick Love, I think you're going to be well into it.
Yeah, and also, as well as I would say it stars Dougray Scott, it also stars Jason Fleming.
Oh, I love Jason Fleming.
Of Lock, Stock and many
He's Guy
other
Ritchie's
things.
favourite, isn't he?
He's great. And it also stars Martha Plimpton.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, Martha Plimpton.
We like
as well.
Martha Plimpton.
And she's got a bit of a Cockney accent in this. She's called Ma Mint.
Of course she is.
And she's great. She's great. The accent is superb. And she's fantastic in it as well. So it's got an absolutely chock-a-block cast. It's brilliant. I would definitely... Are we scoring this? I can't really score it because I've only seen a couple of episodes.
No. I tell you what to do. I think the best thing to do is wait until you've seen the first.
I've seen the
four.
first. No, I've seen two. You've seen
the first two, and they.
I believe there's 8.
Thank you very much, Sky. They did send us 4.
Appreciate that.
Let's get to the end of it, and then we'll maybe circle back around to it. I think it'll be a really
far,
good movie.
what I have seen so far is absolutely brilliant, and I really, really enjoyed it. So, can I go to the other big release?
Okay, go to the other big release.
The other big release is Luther, the Fallen Son, which is on Netflix.
Okay, now you've seen this. I haven't, although I have knowledge of its music, shall we say?
Yeah.
But you've actually seen it, so give me the rundown.
So what I want to say before I tell you about this, I want to go on record and say that I haven't seen any of the other Luthers. I haven't seen the TV series. I haven't seen any of the...
Oh, that's an interesting
So I'm literally coming at this. You know what? Me and my wife talk about this all the time. This is one of those ones that's on our list, and we keep saying, we need to start this, and we just haven't got round to it. But I've heard nothing but good things. Everyone says it's a phenomenal series, and obviously Idris Elba is fantastic. We all know this. Luther, the Fallen Son is a Netflix film. It's borrowed from the BBC, I guess. I don't know what the legalities of it are, but
no, it's Netflix have basically made the motion picture.
Yeah,
that's
the
essentially
BBC
what's
are
happened. And
credited in it.
Altitude, he distributed it at the cinema as well because it had a limited cinema run.
So he's a detective that gets things done, not always necessarily the legal and best way that they should be done, but he gets things done.
Exactly that.
So it starts off with the wonderful Andy Serkis, who is in this, by the way.
Oh, I love him.
And he's great. And he plays a overlord, I want to say. He plays this big baddie who... I don't think he has the technical know-how himself, but I think he employs a lot of people who are very good with technology and very good at hacking to find out all the information he needs to find out to manipulate people to how he wants them.
Yeah.
And basically...
You're mastermind.
Basically, he bribes people and he blackmails people. He finds out the things that they have done that they are not proud of, and he blackmails them and he says, I will release this and I will tell your mum and I will tell your job and unless you do this for me.
The newspapers.
And he gets Luther put away. He gets him sent down.
Right.
And then things start to happen. And people start to hurt themselves. They start to hurt others. And you find out the reason for all of this is because it's somewhere in between. Like I mentioned Saw and Hostel earlier. It's somewhere in that. He's setting up this big online depravity of people watching things online, people killing themselves and people dying, a snuff website.
Porn.
Yeah, that type of thing. He's setting up this and he thinks that because that's what he likes and the other people, obviously, as we do know, around the world like these sort of things as well. So what I would really say from this is we all know, or we don't know actually at all, but I think we've all probably guessed that Idris Elba is not going to be James Bond. And I think he's probably accepted this.
The truth is, we don't actually
know. This is why
know.
I say we don't know, but all signs would point to the fact that he's possibly not going to do it.
So much speculation.
Completely.
And I think with all things matters Bond, until I get a press release in my inbox from Eon Productions, all of it is speculation and guff.
Which says Paul Marsh is our new James Bond.
No, I said when I get one from Eon, not
from
Mickey
me.
Mouse. So yeah,
So like we said, that the man from U.N.C.L.E. is Henry Cavill's
Bond.
James Bond.
Yeah.
This Luther the Fallen Son is Idris Elba's Bond.
Okay.
Is that a good thing?
Right.
Is
so
that
from
a bad thing?
From a perspective of someone that's watched Luther on television, Luther to me is a very gritty, incredibly dark, very hard watch a lot of the time because of the cases that he has to deal with, the things that he has to go through while dealing with the cases, and the nefarious, twisted nature of those he is hunting. All of those things combined makes Luther a very good detective series, and it continued to make a star out of Idris, whilst at the same time being a very chilling, very twisted, incredibly moody and often a hard watch. You couldn't watch Luther as a box set. Like, you'd be tempted to binge, but you kind of need to do one a day, otherwise like your mental state would start to like dive south, I think, because it's very, very moody. So all that taken into consideration, when I think there's a Luther movie, I think, am I going to get more of that cop on the edge, cop that's always teetering on the edge of right and wrong to get it done, chasing a nefarious villain that would literally make you throw up in your mouth, looking at some of the things that they do, whilst he tries to battle with some struggle or another that's also personal to him, whilst at the same time trying to solve a crime and not necessarily by the book. That is Luther in a nutshell for me. How does the movie compare? Have they just taken all of that and then made an action film?
They've taken all of that and they've turned it up to 11.
Okay, well, see, I don't see an issue with that personally.
No, exactly. And this is my awkward thing because I've not seen it, so I have no frame of reference. But that is what it is. It is... If you loved Man from U.N.C.L.E., which we did, is a fantastic film. If you love your James Bond films, which we do, fantastic. Luther is much along that. I don't think it does things quite as well as our recent James Bond films, but it's certainly along the same paths.
Okay.
If you are talking about this super nefarious villain, he is up there with the best of the best.
Andy Serkis, man.
But he takes his depravity and his level of operations and everything up to like something you would get in Fast and Furious and what have you, you know, really is up there. And at times it feels a little unbelievable. At times it feels a little you have to suspend your disbelief. But it's good. It's not great. It's not something that I'm screaming from the rooftops that everybody needs to go and watch this now. But it's definitely good. I think that if you are a Luther fan and if you are an Idris Elba fan, or if you are in on a Saturday night and you have Netflix on in front of you, you can absolutely pop this on and enjoy it.
I also like how many people I've seen, and I think I can add you to this list now, that it's inspired their interest in going back to Luther's TV box sets, and that's a really good thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
I really like the music, but that's as far as I got. I got as far as the soundtrack, which of course is by Lorne Balfe, and I think Lorne's given us another masterwork because it's a good score. It's a really good score, and I'm really looking forward to looking at that in context.
I will agree.
I love
yes,
the music.
It is very good. It is very good. Like I say, there are certain things about this film that I thought were really, really great. There are certain things about this film that I thought maybe probably overstretched it a little bit. It's good. I'm looking forward to it. It's good, is what it is. Is it a 4 out of 5? No. It's better than a 3 out of 5, though.
So your final score is 3.5 out of 5?
Yeah, if I can give that, I would say a 3.5, yeah.
That's a fairly respectable score. I think that's fair enough. Thank you. Luther, on Netflix now, The Fallen Sun. Check that out.
Amazing. It is amazing. Because it's just static frames with darkness in between. But there's a little flaw in your optic nerve. So that if I run the film at 24 frames per second, you don't see the darkness.
Right, what's next?
Okay, so over to the digital 4Ks, Blu-rays and DVDs. We are looking at Corsage, which has come out on digital Blu-ray and DVD. Punk Samurai, again, the same digital Blu-ray DVD.
Looks amazing.
The Bug, which again is digital Blu-ray DVD.
That's a documentary about, I do believe, about the VW bug, I think.
Oh, right, okay.
I think it's narrated by Ewan McGregor.
Oh,
but I'll get into that later.
Very interesting. Then we have The Core, which is coming out on 4K.
That's a classic.
The Virgin Suicides, coming out 4K digital Blu-ray and DVD.
Another classic.
And then finally, we have got Whitney Houston, I Want to Dance with Somebody, which is coming out on digital Blu-ray and DVD.
Okay, so those are all out this week. Some of those, I know Whitney literally arrived while we were recording this, so I will look at that. You will look at that, and we'll talk about that.
Very much so, very much so.
We'll talk about that next week.
So stuff that we do want to talk about, which is all being released, is the Batman Forever 4K and Batman and Robin 4K.
So these are anniversary. I think they're the anniversary editions.
Yeah.
They're 4K steelbooks. They're following on from, I don't know if anybody saw, but there were Tim Burton Batman and Tim Burton Batman Returns 4K collector's edition box sets out recently, and all bells and whistles. You know, they had some nice art cards in there.
They're so shiny.
Yeah, tin
Lovely.
edition box.
Yeah.
Very nice. Of course, you now need the Batman and Forever and the Batman and Robin to go with that. We don't have time. We literally do not have time to have any kind of discussion about Batman and Robin and Batman Forever or Batman and Batman Returns, because to be honest, there are conversations on all sides to be had about all four of those films. We're not going to have them here. Add it to the list.
Ting.
Write it down.
Another list, yep.
But I will tell you that Batman and Robin and Batman Forever have made a 4K steelbook debut this week, and I think if we leave that there, that's probably for the best in terms of how much time we have left.
How much time we don't have left. Living is out on digital Blu-ray and DVD, and I absolutely love this film.
Brilliant film.
Bill Nye is amazing in everything he does, but this film, I wasn't sure what I was going to get from it. I thought it was going to be a very stuffy English film, and it does start like that, and that's literally the whole point of it. Very stiff upper lip, very stuffy English, and it hits you with the feels. It really, really does.
Well, it's a remake of a Kurosawa film, so that was always a massive challenge to take that on, and we talk about that in a little bit with the film's director, Oliver Hermanus. But yeah, it was a massive undertaking, and to have achieved such a well-made film in every possible way from that is, it's great.
I love it. I absolutely loved it. And one film that I didn't get to see, so I will probably get to see it now that it is coming out, is Empire of Light, which is coming out on digital Blu-ray and DVD. You did get to see it, and you thought very highly of it.
I did, gave it 5 stars.
Yeah.
It was fantastic. So those are all out this week. Living, I think you gave a 4.
I think I may have given it a 4.5, actually. I think I really liked it.
Okay, so Living is on Blu-ray, DVD and digital. 4.5 stars from Paul Marsh. That's out this week. And also, as I say, Empire of Light is now digital Blu-ray, DVD, 4K, I believe, as well. And it's on Disney+. So
bonus.
There you go.
I get to see that. I can't wait.
5 stars from me for Empire of Light. That's also out now.
So we have arrived at our second big interview of the pod.
Do you want to rearrange those words? That was a word serial, wasn't it? Do I need to check the left side of your face?
Right, shall I do that again?
Yes, please, because Legal are looking at me and I can feel them staring into the back of my neck.
We've now arrived at the second interview of our pod, our big interview.
Yes, okay, that made more sense. Yes.
That was slightly better, wasn't it?
We have 2 interviews this week, and the second of our big interviews is, as I just mentioned, with Oliver Hermanus, brilliant director who made the film Living, which we've just discussed. But let's hear from the director himself. Oliver Hermanus, welcome, sir. How are you doing?
I'm very good. How are you, John?
I'm doing very well this morning, so great to have you with us during a so far exciting 2022 edition of the BFI London Film Festival, during which your film Living, as we said, has debuted. It arrives here in cinemas on November 4th, but what's the response been like for you so far for the film, Oliver?
The response has been extraordinary, incredibly encouraging, really, in some sense, overwhelming. We started our promotion, our premiere was in Sundance, which was in January, and since then we've been traveling all over the world, and it's always lovely to have audiences like your movie. It's better than people not liking your movie, so I really can't complain.
For those at home hearing about the film for the first time, how would you best describe it to them?
Living is the story of a civil servant in 1950s London who is diagnosed with a terminal illness, a cancer, and he quickly begins to realize that he might not have lived at all. And now with the real sense of time being against him, he starts to investigate his life and seeks out something that he can do to, I suppose, in a sense, feel that he has contributed to life in some way.
From when I was a child, what I wanted was to be a gentleman. Life just crept up on me, one day preceding the next. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning, Mr. Williams.
Not happy, not unhappy. It was small wonder I didn't notice.
Mr. Williams, doctor will see you now.
The results have come back. It's never easy, this.
Quite.
As I understand it, an English adaptation from Kurosawa's film To Live, is that right?
Yeah, so the original film was made by Akira Kurosawa in 1952 in Japan. And if anyone's ever seen that film, it's considered by most to be a masterpiece. So this was a really, really interesting proposition to me. If somebody going, hey, do you want to remake something that people love and cherish? But it was also the opportunity to get to work with our incredible screenwriter, Kazuo Ishiguro, who, as many people know, is one of the greatest living authors. And so there was it was an impossible thing for me to say no to, the opportunity to work with Ishiguro. And of course, there was the proposition to work with Bill Nye, who the project was initiated for.
I imagine it must be incredibly, you must have felt incredibly excited to take something like that on, but also incredibly nervous.
Yes. You kind of need to be afraid because it's. I think that's the nature of filmmaking. You have to lean into the fear of this could be the greatest catastrophe, but that's usually when I think we hopefully do our best work.
They say feel the fear and do it anyway.
Exactly.
Oh, it's a silly nickname. I don't think I'll tell you.
Oh, no, you've come this far. You have to tell me.
All right. Remember your promise to not get angry. Mr. Zombie.
Mr. What?
Mr. Zombie. I saw a film about it with what's-her-name. Zombies are sort of like Egyptian mummies, but they can walk and go about doing things. They're sort of dead, but not dead.
Bill Nye, of course, as you just mentioned, plays the character in question in the film. How did Bill get involved? I heard you mention just there that was he always someone that from the get-go he was always going to be your lead?
So the story of the genesis of Living is that our producer Stephen Woolley and our screenwriter Kazuo Ishiguro were at a party, and they're both insatiable film buffs, real cinephiles, and they were leaning up against. I imagine in my mind they were leaned up against this, like they were in a library somewhere in somebody's house and full of books, and they were leaning up against that. And one said to the other, I think Ishiguro must have said to Stephen, I really love Ikaru, and if anyone was to ever remake that film, they should really get Bill Nye to play the lead. And Stephen probably went, absolutely. And then I think a few days later, Stephen called Ishiguro and said, you know what? Why don't you write that movie? And there was a bit of resistance from Ishiguro at the start, but then I think he was slowly convinced. And that's what they did, but they were always thinking about Bill.
And I hear some real wonderful stories about people's experiences working with Bill. How would you best describe working with him from your own experience? And what was it like working with him from day to day?
I would describe working with Bill as, it's many things, but ultimately it's sort of just, it's a privilege. It was an education, I think, for me personally. I'd never worked with an actor of Bill's experience and I guess his process, which I found to be really inspiring to me. And I sort of loved that he was as obsessed with detail as I am. And so it became something that really brought us together. And I think people like working with Bill because he's generous. He's a generous actor. He makes all the other actors feel incredibly identified. And, we've got a real range of cast members in this film. A lot of them are young, new actors, and I could just see that they were taking notes. They were seeing how Bill does it, how he comes into the set and how he greets everyone and how he makes everyone feel really comfortable. And that's such a great thing. I think that it's so important for young actors to know that the movie business isn't all about being difficult and famous, because that's the absolute opposite of Bill. He's a real, true gentleman.
And a film of this nature can often lead one to reflect on one's own life, actually. I do love a film that makes you think, all the best films are affecting in all the right ways. But I wonder, how did the film affect you whilst you were making it? Did it lead you to reflect on life too?
Yeah, you whenever you go into a piece of work as a filmmaker, you have to find the resonance in yourself. You've got to work out for yourself, what it is about the story that I understand and that I feel and that I can tell, because filmmaking is storytelling. So if you're the storyteller, like you've got to kind of know the subtext, I guess. And it was really interesting to propose that question to myself of what would I do if my life was going to end very soon. And it's a question we all probably throw up at some time in our lives, going, what would we do if we knew the end was coming? And so I definitely had to interrogate that for myself. And the message of our film is a really important message, because it's ultimately a suggestion that perhaps the things that might make us feel really fulfilled if we knew that the end was coming is something quite small. You could do something really incremental for somebody else, something really almost unnoticeable in a sense, and that might mean so much to somebody else that it would be the fulfillment of your life.
It's a beautiful film. It's called Living. It's here on the 4th of November. Oliver, thank you so much for your time. Good luck with the film. We're wishing you all the best and every success with it. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
He has decided to grasp life, and we have to admire him for it. He's happy.
Bravo, Miss Harris. I remember what it's like to be alive.
Oliver Hermanus there, talking about his film Living, which is out now on Blu-ray, DVD and digital. Paul Marsh, what's next?
Right, okay, this is where it gets crazy, because we are now going to go to this week's Tip Top 5.
So, can we just recap what happened last week in the challenge that you set before we go any further?
I forgot about that.
Yeah, I bet you did.
Oh, right.
Convenient,
okay,
that.
So for those that have heard our previous few episodes and podcasts, we have this feature, Tip Top 5, where basically we choose a subject. It could be an actor, it could be a year, it could be a genre, it could be anything. And we then pick our favourite top 5 of that subject. In previous weeks, I have been very, very organised, and I have got my 5 down to 1, and I will quite easily talk about it. Mr. Brown, however, is slightly less organised and generally will kind of randomly throw the names of films in any order, and it's probably not 5. It's been 7. It's been 10. Sometimes I just think he will reel off every single film made by that actor or in that year. So we had a little friendly wager, didn't we?
Can I just say I've literally just had an email from Simon Bruce, and he said, because this is it's funny, this literally just came in now as you were saying that, so I'm going to read it out. Paul, keep on top of him. You are right. 5 is 5. Not 8, not 13, 5. Stop name-dropping other films in your list when you've started your rundown. Do that at the beginning, mate. Love the pod every week. Happy for it to get closer to the knuckle as you guys can do this without getting dirty. Ooh, hello, sausage. And the dynamic between you works very well. Keep up the good work. That's Simon Bruce there. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Simon.
Really, really appreciate that.
And, I will absolutely keep on top of this to the point where we've now had to make a bet. So for those that heard last week's show,
he's had to bribe me.
We have literally had to, because it's Tip Top 5, we put £5 on it. I bet John Brown £5 that he could not, in order, come up with his top 5 Tom Cruise films.
Well, thank you to Simon for your timing being absolutely spot on.
Yeah.
By the way, he had no idea we were recording right now. It was just his email came in right at the right moment. So thank you to him for that. Yes, we've done it. So we asked me, he asked me to get a top 5 in order, and I can tell you I have that in place.
Okay.
Woohoo!
Right, hang on.
He's getting his wallet out. Oh, there's a note. Okay, all right. So wait till I've read it out, though. I could be blagging it. Wait till I've read out the note. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We also asked all of you. So thank all of you. There are so many of you, and we're going to make an attempt right now at getting through everybody's. But first, we're going to start with Paul's. Go.
Right, so my top 5 in reverse order as always, and John's about to have a meltdown, by the way. Number 5 is Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol.
Oh, that's a brilliant choice.
And that's my only Mission Impossible.
That's okay. Everyone's got a different favourite, I've discovered, over time.
Number 4 is Collateral. It's the only movie where Tom Cruise has played a baddie, and he does it so well.
Technically,
go on.
There's also Interview with the Vampire.
That's the whole who's the villain in Jaws thing, isn't it? If he's a vampire, is it his fault that he's a bat? I know he's a baddie vampire, but all vampires are baddies, aren't they? You know, I know Brad Pitt was nice in it, but he still sucked the life out of people. Right, moving on to number 3, and again, John Brown is about to have a meltdown because my number 3 is Tropic Thunder.
It's interesting that Tropic Thunder appears a lot in people's lists.
It does.
Given that it's essentially a cameo.
It is a cameo, but
it's probably the best thing about the whole movie.
It's the best cameo. It is just Les Grossman, is it? Les Grossman.
I think we all know who he based that on.
Yes,
But
absolutely.
we won't get into that now.
But it is just superb, and obviously some of the lines he says in it I cannot repeat right now, but it's genius. So my number 2 is Top Gun Maverick. Top Gun Maverick.
I'm very proud of you.
Thank you. I think he is great in that. He really is great. And so my number 1, my tip-top pick for Tom Cruise is Jerry Maguire.
That's an excellent choice.
Jerry Maguire.
And it makes a lot of sense because you're a sports guy as well. So that tracks. That's a very good choice.
Yeah.
I was talking to Lily about this yesterday, and I said about how Jerry Maguire is a really solid motivational film. But also, it's a life-affirming film.
Yeah.
You can watch it and life's all right. It's one of those films you can watch it, get to the end, you're having a terrible day, you watch that movie and you go, do you know what, life's not so bad.
It's a fantastic film.
I
Really is
agree
great.
with that.
Yep.
I agree. By the way, no one's wrong.
So we do this slightly different, don't we? Because I do my top 5 and it's my favourite film. So literally the films that I think, well, I watch that all the time and I love that one. I will go with my top 5 favourite. You do this slightly different, which is absolutely fine. And you do what you feel is the best 5.
Yes, so how we normally do this is normally Paul gives his top 5 favourites, 5 to 1. I, as Simon Bruce quite rightly highlighted, mess about for a bit, throw a couple of films in the air, say about 20 different films names and then eventually settle on a 5 off the top of my head, of which are in no particular order, and then we get to know one. Pleased to say we've corrected that for future episodes. They now will be 5 from 5 to 1 in order. However, the difference with Paul's is that's his 5 favourites. I've got my 5 favourites too, but what I will give you each week is what I feel pound for pound is the 5 best movies on that topic. However, before we do that, let's read out some of yours. Paul, have you got a list in front of you? Because I've given you some, I've got some. Okay, so I'll start. Thank you to everyone that wrote in. We'll start. Okay, so James Secker, he said number 5, Jack Reacher, number 4, Minority Report, number 3, Risky Business, number 2, Mission Impossible, Fallout, and number 1, Top Gun Maverick. Bonus for A Few Good Men and Collateral. Hey, look, if I'm not allowed to do that, neither is he. James Secker, thank you very much, sir. Number 1, Top Gun Maverick for him. Paul, what have you got?
So Wayne Johnston said, in reverse order, number 5, Days of Thunder, 4, A Few Good Men, 3, Edge of Tomorrow, 2, Top Gun Maverick, the same as me, and number 1 is Mission Impossible 3.
Excellent, Wayne. Thank you very much, mate. John Hammond, the legend that is John Hammond. How are you, sir? Thanks for writing in. Number 5, Oblivion. I love Oblivion. Number 4, Minority Report. Number 3, Valkyrie. Good, interesting choice. Number 2, A Few Good Men. What a film. And number 1, Top Gun Maverick, of course. Yes, John. That's what we like. More Top Gun Maverick, please, mate. Paul.
Radoslaw Rozbicki. No, that's completely wrong, isn't it? I'll try that again. Radoslaw Rozbicki has gone from 5 to 1. 5, Mission Impossible Fallout. 4, Edge of Tomorrow. 3, Collateral. 2, Born on the 4th of July. And his number 1 is Tropic Thunder.
But that makes you very happy,
Makes me
doesn't
very
it?
happy. Thank you, Radoslaw.
Damien Legg. Number 5, A Few Good Men. Number 4, Mission Impossible 3. That's coming up a lot, that one. Number 3, Cocktail. Oh, Cocktail, what a film. Number 2, Interview with the Vampire. Number 1, Top Gun Maverick.
Yeah.
Yes for Top Gun Maverick. Let's go.
Okay, Paul Widger has gone with number 5 as Jack Reacher. Number 4, Colour of Money. Number 3, Top Gun. He doesn't say which, so I assume the original. Number 2, A Few Good Men. And number 1, Rain Man.
Good choice. There's no bad choices here. Ali McNiff. Number 5, Interview with the Vampire. Number 4, A Few Good Men. Number 3, The Last Samurai. Number 2, Minority Report. And again, number 1, Rain Man.
Karen Brogan, number 5, Cocktail. Number 4, Days of Thunder. Number 3, Jack Reacher. Number 2, Rain Man. And number 1, Top Gun.
Sean Wilson. Hello, Sean Wilson. Sean Wilson, our friend Sean Wilson from Scoreheads. He says number 5. Oh, no. Important to note. In chronological order, not necessarily the best order. So in order of chronology, he went with Rain Man, Born on the 4th of July, Jerry Maguire, Collateral, and then Top Gun Maverick. So that's his 5 favourites in chronological order.
Bit of a cop-out, but we'll let you have it. Right, Carl Deering has gone for number 5, A Few Good Men. Number 4, Top Gun. Number 3, Colour of Money.
Oh, what a film.
Yeah. Number 2, Collateral. And number 1, Rain Man.
Sean Stagland, he said number 5, Minority Report. 4, Mission Impossible Fallout. 3, Eyes Wide Shut. 2, Rain Man. Number 1, Magnolia. Another good choice.
Great film. Okay, so over onto the Twitter. Tom Cruise fan Twitter has gone number 5, Minority Report. Number 4, Mission Impossible franchise. Bit of a cop-out, but okay. 3, Born on the 4th of July. 2, Magnolia. And number 1, Jerry Maguire.
Can I just say that they, as the Tom Cruise fan Twitter, number 1, thank you for writing in. Number 2, as the Tom Cruise fan Twitter, you have no idea how incredibly difficult that was for them. And they felt sad that they couldn't include everything. Lily Park, not in any particular order, I don't think. So Lily told me that she found this incredibly difficult to do, but nonetheless, here it is. Number 5, Edge of Tomorrow. Number 4, Top Gun. Number 3, The Firm. I love The Firm. Number 2, Risky Business, a classic. Number 1, Mission Impossible Fallout. Yes, more of that, please.
Right, Paul Langford, we need to have a word with you, don't we? Right, Paul Langford. Number 5, Days of Thunder. Number 4, Days of Thunder. Number 3, Days of Thunder. Number 2, Days of Thunder. And you guessed it, at number 1, it's Days of Thunder.
Well, how about that? Something we don't have to fix. Daniel Cook, hello, sir. Number 5, Legend. Because who forgets Legends? Number 4, Top Gun Maverick. Number 3, The Last Samurai. Number 2, Born on the 4th of July. Number 1, Top Gun. Thank you, Daniel Cook.
And finally, our guest on this week's show, Mr. Ruben Shaw. Thank you very much, Ruben. Number 5, Night and Day.
That's another good choice.
Number 4, Edge of Tomorrow. Number 3, Last Samurai. Number 2, Jerry Maguire. And number 1, Mission Impossible franchise.
Okay, you ready? So here's the 5. Get that note out. Here's the 5 in order. It
Right.
goes like this. So, as before, from now on, Paul will give his 5 best films in the topic. So his 5 favourite. His 5 favourite top. His 5 favourite Tom Cruise movies were what you heard earlier. And just to recap, what were they?
Oh, no.
Very quickly.
Different page. Right, number 5, Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol. Number 4, Collateral. Number 3, Top Gun... Tropic Thunder, number 2, Top Gun Maverick, and number 1, Jerry Maguire.
These are, I'm going to say these are quite close, mate. So
Okay.
so I'm going to give you the top 5 Tom Cruise movies. Not necessarily my favourite ones, but I think
what you feel are the best.
Yeah, shot for shot, brilliant stories, brilliantly shot, brilliantly edited, brilliantly performed, like in every possible way. What I consider a perfect film.
Okay.
So here's what I feel are Tom Cruise's all-time tip-top 5 most perfect, most brilliant, best films in order. Number 5, Collateral.
So good.
Number 4, Jerry Maguire.
Oh.
Number 3, Minority Report.
Very good.
Number 2, Top Gun Maverick.
Okay.
Number 1, Mission Impossible Fallout.
You've gone for Fallout.
Yeah, well,
wow, you love Fallout, don't you?
I do.
I'm not saying that I don't like it, but I know how much you do love it.
I do. And it's nice to be able to sit and watch it and hear things happening on screen and go, hey, I was there when that happened. It's not favouritism and it's not bias. No. It's like, oh, you've chosen the one that you went and watched get recorded. No. It's nothing to do with that. I had a lot of thought process about this, and it was really difficult to choose between Top Gun Maverick and Mission Impossible Fallout. And as Simon Bruce pointed out, I can't have 10 million entries and I can't figure 2 in one. So if I had to choose, Mission Impossible Fallout.
I'm very, very impressed. I have to say I'm very, very impressed. Well done. I will give you a crisp £5 English note.
Well, thank you,
as soon as
sir.
this finished, and that brings the end to our our Tom Cruise section.
our Top Gun loving.
Yeah, our Tom. That's because we're talking about it so much. Our Tom Cruise section, brought to you by Tom Cruise, sponsored by Tom Cruise, and just generally for our love of Tom Cruise.
And remember that Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning is in cinemas in July. Right. So time for our goat of the week, and I think it's fairly straightforward this week, don't you?
Amazing, absolutely amazing.
I think it's fairly straightforward.
I mean,
so
we spoke. One of our previous goats of the week was Brendan Fraser, who made an epic comeback with his film career. Now this could be the comeback of all comebacks.
Yes. So our goat of the week this week is Ke Huy Quan. And I think it doesn't really need... The best thing about this is it doesn't really need any explanation. I think anyone with the internet will know why he's GOAT of the week. Greatest of all time of the week. If you go look up his Oscar speech, which I may or may not include in this podcast, depending on licensing rights and whether or not I'm allowed anywhere near it. But nonetheless, if you go online and look up his Oscar speech... all the reasons why he should be GOAT of the week are right there in that speech. It was very moving. You just want to give him a big cuddle. Same with Brendan Fraser, right? You just want to give him a big hug. Yeah. You hear his story. You hear about... Obviously, we know him. People of our generation know him best as... Short Round and Data from Goonies and Indiana Jones Temple of Doom. And then, of course, the thing with Brendan Fraser, he was in California Man, or Encino Man, as it's known in the States. They were in that together. And then to see them both on this journey where they kind of disappeared and then made this epic comeback, same year, 2 great films. I know he's in your favourite film of last year.
Yes, yeah, exactly. I think what's great is just to see... I mean, he's spoken about how after he made those initial films, he then found it very hard to find good roles that, because there was so much bias in Hollywood. And now the great thing is all of this love that's come from not only him, but for the film is a small independent film. And it's given him this stratospheric launch back to the career that he should have had this whole time. Yeah. And he is just so happy, so grateful. I mean, he's brought to tears of every time it's mentioned. It's just, like you say, so heartwarming.
Yeah, and to see that he's kept in touch with the Goonies this whole time. In fact, Chunk is his lawyer.
Yes,
I know. Is it his lawyer or his agent?
Entertainment lawyer or something along those lines,
Amazing.
Yes, fantastic. Absolutely brilliant.
And then, of course, to see them at the Oscars, to see him reunited with Brendan Fraser on an excellent night for them both, previous GOAT of the week, and then to see him reunited with Harrison Ford, and of course reunited with Steven Spielberg and Steven Spielberg's good lady wife, who was in Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom.
Yeah,
it was just a wonderful thing.
Blubbing like a baby, I was.
Wonderful thing. So yes, goat of the week I think goes to Ke Huy Quan. I think I don't even think that needed explaining. He is the greatest of all time of this week.
Now we do have a little competition. This is kind
we
of...
do. We over at Express FM...
You had to think of where we actually...
Well, no, because you shot me a look, and I was like, was I supposed to speak? Or were you supposed to speak? Do you... okay. Shall I do this, or you want to do it?
Listen, I'm not going to fight you over it. Either one of us can do it.
So well, we're at Express FM right now. We're literally sat in the studio. But over at Express FM... we've got a competition running to win yourself a copy of Whitney Houston, I Want to Dance with Somebody. I Want to Dance with Somebody, Paul Marsh.
Well
I'm looking
done,
at you.
Well done, you posh southerner, you.
So we've got 2 copies of that to give away on Blu-ray. If you want to win a copy, then if you hear this before Sunday the 19th of March, so be very clear about that, if you're listening to this before Sunday the 19th of March at midnight, go to expressfm.com/win and get into the draw. Must be very clear about one thing, though. It is for our friends at Express FM. Therefore, it is for our friends within their catchment area. So you need to live in the Portsmouth and South East Hampshire, UK area.
All the T's and C's are at expressfm.com/win.
It is an expressfm.com competition, and they, of course, local radio for Portsmouth. You can catch them on 93.7 FM in the Portsmouth and surrounding areas, also on DAB, Express FM, and ask your smart speaker to play Express FM or expressfm.com, as I say. So go to expressfm.com/win if you want to win that. If you are local to the area and you want to hear more great music, more great interviews, loads of features, brilliant specialist music shows, you can listen to them 24/7. He's on most days.
Unfortunately, yes. There is so much of me, it's ridiculous. Even my wife doesn't have that much of me.
And I'm on every other Sunday with the Composer series as well, if you want to catch more of that. So thank you very much. That's my thank you to Express FM, by the way. I thought I'd get that out of the way now. And thank you to them for allowing us to take up their studio space for large amounts of time for a podcast that's produced here. And they're very kind and very patient and very wonderful about that, and don't ever stare through the window at us going, "Are you going to be long?" That's not even a joke. They don't actually do that. They're very welcome. Thank you so much to Express FM, and thank you again. I say expressfm.com/win if you want to, before Sunday at midnight, if you fancy a chance of winning Whitney Houston, I Want to Dance with Somebody. Did it again on Blu-ray. There are 2 copies to give away. Thank you very much to you, Paul. I think, is that everything? Have we got anything? Did anybody else write in? I know Simon Bruce, obviously we revved that out. I'll talk to you later. Meet me outside the headmaster's office, Simon Bruce.
I think most of our interaction this week was with the Tom Cruise top 5, which, as you know, was absolutely crazy. Thank you to everybody that got involved in that one. However, if you do want to write us a review, if you want to tell us what we're great at, and if you want to tell us what we're not great at, please do it in a constructive manner.
I mean, just write it anyway. We'll read it out.
Yeah.
As long as there's no swearing in it, I will literally read it out. If you actually write in and say,
"You're a bunch of beep," and
I think you two are absolutely terrible, and this is the worst podcast I've ever listened to. We read it out, as long as it,
as long as you don't swear.
As long as there's nothing in there that's going to hurt Paul's kids' ears, then then we're good. They might hurt Paul's ears.
I'm a big boy and I can take that.
Can you though? You look like you need a cuddle. Anyway.
Right, that is about it, because we've got other things to do. So thank you very much for listening. We do greatly appreciate it.
We do indeed.
Always.
That was a big show this week.
I will ask you to like, follow, subscribe, share, etc. Get the word out to everybody else. Anybody that likes movies, please get the word out to them. And then Mr. John Brown can do his usual thank yous.
I can do my usual thank yous. Thank you again to Express FM. We just did that already. And thank you to the View Cinema in Gunwharf Keys. We've got one here in Portsmouth where we record the show, but I'm pretty certain you've got one near you. myview.com. Check them out for all times and tickets for all the latest films that we've talked about this week, and thank you very much again to them for allowing us to basically camp out there for a day or two a week. Thank you.